balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impacts with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point: the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour optic yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon from the comfort of his own front room. You could say the ITF aced it.
Good afternoon, how are we? Welcome to the Sunday session. I'm Max Scott. I'm delighted to be alongside former Chelsea left-back Scott Minto. We've got an absolute belter of a day for British sport with Wimbledon, day 5 of the cricket and the Grand Prix at Silverstone taking place. Of course, we'll keep you updated on all the events throughout the afternoon, and we'll have all your favourite features along the way, including Sounds of the Weekend, Smiles, Stranger Things and Stataface. But first to SW19, where Lisa O'Sullivan's reporting.
And the storm has cleared, but the roof remains on centre court, where Sony Kartal is going toe-to-toe with Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. We've had a break of serve apiece, but it's 3 games all in the first set.
What's the latest between England and India on the 5th and final day of the second test, Sam Ellard?
A delayed start, play getting underway at 12:40 today because of rain. 2 wickets for India this morning. England 123 for 5. Akashdeep bowled Ollie Pope, then he got Harry Brook LBW for 23. Stokes has got 18, Smith's got 22. India needs 5 wickets to win this game on day 5.
In an hour's time, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone will be getting underway. Jake Robson.
Yes, indeed. The 76th British Grand Prix. Max Verstappen starts on pole for the 4th time this season ahead of championship leader Oscar Piastri and his McLaren teammate Lando Norris. George Russell starts 4th, Lewis Hamilton 5th. It has been raining at Silverstone as well, and although it's drying out as it stands, there isn't any more forecast, but that could of course change very quickly. Lights out at 3 o'clock.
Brilliant stuff, Jake. And later at 5 p.m, we'll be keeping you up to date with Norway against Finland in the Women's Euros. And over on talkSPORT 2 at 3 p.m, there will be live Super League action as Hull KR take on Leeds Rhinos with Craig Murdoch reporting.
Yeah, it's 1v5 in...
We've had an issue with the line. We will get back to Craig Murdoch reporting on the rugby. Let's get into it now. This is the Sunday session on talkSPORT. Delighted to welcome in alongside me former Chelsea Benfica fullback Scott Minto. Scott, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. We're back again.
Yes,
Sunday
we are
session again.
We've been busy boys.
We've been busy boys. You certainly have. Well, you ninth day on the spin, is it?
Yeah,
working?
ninth day on the spin. Had a cracker of a day yesterday with Cass on breakfast. You've of course been covering the Club World Cup for us.
Yeah. I did the Chelsea Palmeiras game at 2 a.m.
Lovely.
I nipped to, and thank you very much to Simon Clare and Coral for inviting me to the Coral Eclipse yesterday.
Indeed.
So I went there.
I tried to get in there, but the missus didn't give me the pass.
Do you know what?
So I stayed at home.
So you got the invite?
I got the invite, but
because it wasn't a +1, she said no.
It's basically, yeah. She was like, I'm not having it. I've not seen you all week. So to be fair, I went home, had a great day watching the Lions, napped, then watched the Lionesses. We'll get onto that in a minute.
Yeah, I did Real Madrid Dortmund as well in the evening, so that was good. So yeah, really good day. This morning, actually, already done the podcast, All Access podcast with Sam Matterface and Alex Crook, and then here with you now. So great weekend.
Fantastic. As I mentioned, watching the Lionesses last night. So let's get on to that. Time now to get an update on the football with McDonald's.
UEFA Women's Euro 2025 update on talkSPORT with McDonald's. Got Big McDonald's hunger? The new Big Arch is here. Available from 11 a.m. at participating restaurants.
Yes, to get more on that devastating loss for England in their opening Euros match against France, because they lost 2-1. Delighted to welcome in former England midfielder Jordan Nobbs and host of the full-time phone-in after Lionesses game. Jordan, how are we?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Hi, Jordan.
Look, obviously, last night, I mean, England's worst fears realised. I really think they sort of let France outgun them, overpower them. And other than that disallowed goal in the first sort of 15 minutes, there wasn't a shot on target, I believe, till the 85th minute. What went wrong?
Yeah, it was a tough night for the Lionesses. I think, like you said, they were on top until Russo's disallowed goal. And then I think France just turned it up to another level, winning their first and second balls, creating a lot in the wide areas. And yeah, England didn't look up to themselves. I think it was good that in the last 10 minutes we started to see what the Lionesses can do, but it was a very tough outing from two top teams.
John, I've got a question. Where are they right now, sort of coming into the tournament compared to where they were winning the Euros last time out? I mean, they seem sort of that consistency has gone. You know, you beat Belgium 5-0 in the Nations League, then lose to them 3-2 4 days later. Win against Spain at Wembley, and obviously you can lose to Spain. They're arguably the best team in the competition, but 2-1 probably flattered England rather than Spain. Why such the inconsistency now, do you feel?
Yeah, there has been inconsistency, and I think you always say, it matters what happens in tournament, but then after that first game, you're kind of thinking, have teams started to get used to England? Serena's very, well, we all know she likes her experienced players. She knows her team well before the tournament, even her subs as well. And, teams start to understand that. They start to know the players. There's no surprises. And I think that's where she's got to look at. If that happens again, we've got to make subs earlier, or you've got to adapt and change the team to surprise teams, players that they don't know about, they don't know their strengths. You saw Adjiman obviously come on and, people don't know how she plays. So it's a bit of surprise for teams. And maybe Serena's got the same team, which have been really reliable for her. But I think we also can't take for granted that they have just played a very top French team at the moment who are in form. And that's not an easy start to a tournament.
Jordan, you mentioned there about the substitutions. 2-0 down against France, looking pretty nervy at the back. Even Leah Williamson, Jess Carter, who I think looked a little bit exposed at left back there. They were really honest after the game and said, there was some, poor defending going on. You've mentioned that there were no substitutions at half time and that maybe Serena needs to change things around. But do you anticipate that? Because similar to Gareth Southgate, Serena Wiegman likes her experienced players. Can you see her making a dramatic shift in her approach for what is essentially a must-win game against Netherlands on Wednesday?
Yeah, it's a must-win, so she's going to pick her best 11. But I think when you look at first game in the tournament, you don't really want to be bringing a player off at half-time. You need them for the rest of the tournament. That's a very big call. But I think you could obviously see that Jess Carter got subbed a little bit later on, which she was playing against a very informed Cascarino, who was causing her a lot of trouble. And I think that was where the team maybe needed to help her out a little bit. Have you got that extra midfielder just dropping in and supporting to double up and help her out? But I think there'll be a few changes. But in the World Cup we've seen Serena play 3-5-2, but I don't know if she would go for change in formation when it's a must-win game. I think it might be one or two changes and a little bit of tactics, but when you look at the game, it's probably more sometimes the basics that they just needed to get back. That, you know, you can't be losing your 1v1 battles. You know, that's just a bare minimum that to get out of the groups is needed.
Georgia Stanway not quite 100% match fit. We know that Lauren James isn't as well, but absolute quality, and hopefully she'll get fitter and fitter as the tournament goes on. Kira Walsh, very much a technical player, but perhaps not quite as mobile, certainly as we saw in the game last night. We talk about changes, talking about the sort of the lack of substitutions. What would you do for the next game?
Yeah, I think I guess the unfortunate thing the Lionesses have is they've had a lot of injuries leading up to it. And you look at the spine of their team the other day, you've got Lauren James, Lauren Hemp, Alex Greenwood, Georgia Stanway. They've all played limited minutes recently. So I think it probably showed that a little bit. Maybe they needed that game out their system. But then you look at Ella Toon, I think, like you just said, she was the first player to get a shot that led to then the corner for Kira Walsh. So I think a player like that, do you bring in an Ella Toon and maybe put Lauren James out on the wing or keep her centrally? And I think maybe you could play around with Neve Charles coming in at full-back. You know, they have the luxury, but players didn't obviously put in the best performance the other day, so it allows Serena to maybe make some changes.
Jordan, trying to sort of focus on the more positive side of things. You know, you look at Argentina when they won the World Cup, lost to Saudi Arabia. You look at Lee Carsley's England under-21s. They went on to win it, but had a bit of a shaky group stage. I guess what we can say about Serena Wiegman is she's incredibly experienced in these tournaments. Yes, it's a must-win game, but there's got to be hope from fans, you know, from within the squad, that they've got the pedigree to go on, win when it matters, and start building momentum as the tournament goes on.
Yeah, and there's no one better for it than Serena playing her old national team with the Netherlands.
Yeah.
I mean, she'll know everything about them, what they do. So I think that's key in having a manager that does that. And like you say, it's tournament football. If the Lionesses win their next two games, they're back in the running and back in it. So, you know, they'll still have all the belief, and the Lionesses have shown they've turned up when it's come to being big major tournaments. So I have no doubt that they won't put in a performance like they did against France. But again, I think it's also given credit to the French team. I think they played an unbelievable game, and they now look like one of the favourites to probably go far in the tournament after that.
Talk to us about the Netherlands then. You know, how strong are they? Obviously, they were very good against Wales. This is a must-win game now for England. The pressure's on. You know, Max just likened it to, Anna did it this morning as well with Argentina, what happened. You don't want it, but actually you've got to have that sort of knockout mentality at some point. How do you see the Netherlands coming up against us?
I think one thing about the Netherlands is they've won the Euros before, so they've been there and done that like the Lionesses. I think their players up front are really strong. They're not a very rigid team. They like to move around. They like to interchange. You've got Dan van der Donk, Vic Pullover, Viv Miedema. You know, they're all very talented forwards that score goals and create moments. So I think it'll be not allowing them to get on the ball and trying to get balls in the box, a bit like Wales did in the first 10-15 minutes of their game. You know, they just didn't have enough bodies to capitalise on that. But the Netherlands will cause different problems to France. You know, they haven't got that speed that they have, but they definitely have the different rotations, which can cause another problem.
Yeah, Jordan, brilliant stuff. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Just a reminder, of course, that must-win game is live on talkSPORT on Wednesday, 5 o'clock, England versus the Netherlands, presented by talkSPORT's Voice of Football, Adrian Durham. And, of course, Jordan Nobbs will be back with the full-time phone-in after that game, and we hope that it'll be a much more positive one. That was all thanks to McDonald's.
UEFA Women's Euro 2025 update on talkSPORT with McDonald's. Got Big McDonald's hunger? The new Big Arch is here. Available from 11 a.m. at participating restaurants.
Loads of live sport today, and we're going to head over to Wimbledon, where Lisa O'Sullivan's got the latest.
And Sony Kartal is looking to level up the match against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. She's serving second in this first set, 3-4. We've had a couple of exchanges of breaks of serve and both trying to impose their will on the other. But it's great to see the British number 3, just 5'4" tall, looking so calm and confident on her first appearance here at centre court. Pavlyuchenkova made the quarter-finals back in 2016 when she lost to Serena Williams, the eventual winner, but is looking very calm, very collected from the British women's number 3, who's going to move up the rankings. And very shortly, over on court number 1, we'll see Cameron Norrie come out to make it 2 Brits in action on the day 7 of Wimbledon 2025.
Brilliant stuff. Lisa O'Sullivan now will be keeping us updated throughout the show with all the updates from Wimbledon. And Sam Ellard is watching England in the cricket. How's it going, Sam?
It's been a better last hour for England. It was a tricky start, a delayed start today, getting underway at 12:40 because of some bad weather at Edgbaston. India's day got off to the perfect start. They started needing 7 wickets to win. They picked up 2 in the first 15 minutes or so. Akashdeep, really impressive once again today. He bowled Ollie Pope and then bowled an absolute beauty to Harry Brook. A ball that nipped back into Brook, kept a little bit low, hit him on the pad, out for LBW. Since then, though, the Sidwicker partnership is a good one for England. The runs feel almost irrelevant at this point, 54 runs. But Stokes and Smith have been together for 14 overs and are maybe just starting to frustrate the India bowlers. A couple of chances for India of note. Jadeja getting one to turn to Stokes, hit his glove, just fell short of leg slip, Shubman Gill. And then Akashdeep, he bowled a really good ball to Smith. They're going to ball it back in, went through bat and pad and just missed the stumps. But England are fighting hard, which is good to see. Many people thought, what sort of England performance are we going to see today? Are they going to just try and play like Bazball and be aggressive, even though they probably can't win because of too many runs? Well, the answer is they're fighting hard. They're digging in. Smith's got 27. Stokes has got 26. India searching for 5 wickets to win this game on day 5.
Brilliant stuff, Sam. Thank you. Yeah, we need a captain's knock from Ben Stokes today. His batting's come under some criticism recently, so Sam will keep us updated throughout the show. Now, though, it's time for this.
Sounds of the weekend.
This is a journey into sound
on talkSPORT.
Yeah, our first sounds come from Old Trafford as 5 Manchester United players have said they want to leave. Anthony, Alejandro Garnacho, Tyrell Malacia, Marcus Rashford and Jadon Sancho want to leave the historic Manchester United. talkSPORT understands the 5 players have all informed the club of their wishes to depart Old Trafford this summer. So we're looking for songs about leaving or not coming back. 03717 22 33 8 10 89. Get your suggestions in. And our second sound is Chelsea signing the UK's youngest ever senior player. Glenarvan's Chris Atherton created history in September 2022 when he made his debut aged 13 years and 329 days old. The striker, now 16, has made a move to Chelsea where he'll join with the youth programme. So for this one, songs about young superstars and making your dreams come true. Get your texts in 81089 or message us on WhatsApp 03717 223344. Our first songs of our Sounds of the Weekend are coming right up, but next we'll round up our thoughts on last night's damaging defeat for the Lionesses.
jet plane, don't know when I'll be back again.
Oh, young hearts, run free, and never be hung up like my man and me.
Yeah, good afternoon. You're listening to the Sunday session with me, Max Scott, alongside Scott Minto. Those are our sounds of the weekend. The first song you heard there was Leaving on a Jet Plane by John Denver. Connor from Bedford sent that through. This is regarding those 5 Manchester United stars desperate to leave Old Trafford. And now in the background there, an absolute belter. Young Hearts Run Free, sent in by Jenny, the Tottenham fan. This is regarding Chelsea signing the youngest ever striker, Chris Atherton.
I know they go young, but my goodness me, they've gone even further this time, haven't they?
They've got a monopoly, Chelsea, on those young players.
They have,
Hopefully they don't hoard him like the rest of them.
They look to the future, but my goodness me, it sounds like it's about 10 years in the future.
It does indeed. Right, just a reminder, we've got loads of live sport. It's an absolute belter of British sport this afternoon. We've got Silverstone, the Grand Prix, we've got updates from Wimbledon, and of course the final day of the second test. Sam Ellard, Lisa O'Sullivan, Jake Robson, all going to keep us updated throughout the show. But now we're going to continue our reaction to what was a devastating opener in England's, the Lionesses' bid to go back-to-back in the Euros. And after that 2-1 defeat to France, Sarina Wiegman spoke to talkSPORT's Courtney Sweetman-Kirk after the game last night, and the England manager believed the defeat was self-inflicted.
I think we caused ourselves a bit of problems. We know what their strengths are, and we played too many short passes, and where they could put pressure on, and then when we would get out, then we were a bit too sloppy on the ball, and especially when it's on your own half, they become really dangerous, and we had to get that right and do better. We did have moments in the second half. We couldn't harm them that much, and I think when we scored the corner, that helped us, and we tried to force a goal, and I think we were really close, but we didn't get it across the line.
Scott, there's a lot has been made about the Lionesses heading into this tournament, hasn't there? You know, we've seen Millie Bright essentially, with refusing to play, or saying that she's not able to represent the Lionesses. We've seen Mary Earps, who, by the way, an absolute Notts legend. From my perspective, she again, not wanting to be called up. There's been lots of questions around Sarina Wiegman. There's been murmurs of discontent within the camp. She's had an absolutely incredible 4 years in charge of the Lionesses, but maybe there's a feeling at the minute that she's taken them as far as she can. Is it wrong to question whether a manager of any team has a shelf life at this point?
Look, I don't think it's wrong to question whether a manager has a shelf life, but she's lost one game, And when it comes to the Euros, as Jordan was saying before, she was in charge of the Netherlands, where they won 6 out of 6 and won the Euros, then 6 out of 6 for England as well. I think there's nothing wrong in questioning in terms of substitutions and obviously team selection as well. And I think we've had that before, haven't we, with Gareth Southgate?
Well, I was going to say, yeah.
Not making the subs in time. And it feels like she's always seemed to handle the pressure really well. And Gareth, to be fair, has as well. But, when you think about the 60 million England managers out there who all think they can do a really good job and a better job, I wonder whether sometimes after a while the pressure just weighs heavier and heavier. And then you just almost go back to what you feel you can trust rather than actually, let's be quite bold here. I'm fascinated.
But I think at the minute, is that working? You read out earlier when we were speaking to Jordan Nobbs, former Lioness, how the form has dipped recently, and that comes when Sarina Wiegman's approach hasn't changed, trusting the experienced ones. And I just sort of feel in the football landscape we're in now, we saw the toll that it took on Gareth Southgate, the amount of criticism he got for picking his favourites, whether it's, Kyle Walker, Harry Maguire, etc. And ultimately that didn't work out for him. It has for Wiegman. She's won the Euros. Yeah. She's got, I think probably more trust in the football in public. But clearly, she's starting Beth Mead, not Chloe Kelly. When you look at Arsenal, Chloe Kelly starts ahead of Beth Mead. Do you think there will come a point in this tournament, which, and I mean now, because she has to win the next game, where she shakes it up, or do you think she's going to stick to her guns?
Well, look, I don't think she seems to be a manager who will absolutely make wholesale changes. I think she may make one or two, and Jordan alluded to that as well. But I do also think it's so social media and modern day society to absolutely jump on someone when they've lost their first game.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, it was a bad loss, and it's amazing how goals do change games. A bit of a cliche, but it's right. Lauren James in the first minute or so, If her strike in the box is on target and a goal, suddenly you're in control of the tempo of the game. The offside, I'm still looking at the offside.
I don't understand.
I still don't know how that's given offside, but computer says no, clearly.
Yeah.
So, you know, little things like that, you do need a little bit of luck. But now the pressure is on. Look, she's been there before. That's the thing. You do need that experience. You can't just go 100% right. We're going to chuck all these players out and bring these ones in. But there are some people knocking at the door, and I do think she has to make changes.
Well, Scott, you say she's been there before. This is an interesting stat. In 26 tournament matches before last night, Wiegman had only ever lost twice, both in finals. I'm not trying to take away from that incredible record, but ultimately we don't really know how she responds to defeats in tournaments. Do you know what I mean? So this is new ground for Wiegman because she's got such fantastic pedigree.
I know what you're saying, but how good is that she doesn't know what it's like to react after defeats? I mean, look, we've got a defeat now, and she has to, and she realises it's boom or bust now in this one. Again, you said it earlier, and I said it this morning on the All Access podcast. I try to turn negative into a positive, and I say, right, okay, it's brought forward a game early, or maybe even 2 games early. We're now at the knockout stages after one match. You have to go and win this, and sometimes that can actually battle harden you. When you get through that one, you don't really want that experience as a player or as a manager to know, oh my goodness me, we could be out at these group stages and not even go through. It was said before, it's the group of death. I think it's already shown that to be the case, but they have to step up. There's no doubt about it. I mean, fullbacks, Lucy Bronze obviously is an excellent fullback. She found it tough. Jess Carter found it tough as well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, certainly in the left back area. But I also think the players need to step up.
Yeah.
You know, we mentioned a few of them not 100% fit. Well, fitness-wise, they would have got a lot out of that. But also mentally, you know, the women's side have absolutely got the respect they deserve and what they've done and to get to the World Cup final, to win the Euros.
Yeah,
with that comes pressure and responsibility, and they've got to be able to handle that. I think they can. I think they'll go to the next game and win the next game, and I think we'll go, you know, hopefully then go on and beat Wales and almost develop as a tournament. How many times do we see that?
Yeah,
teams that win tournaments, they develop along the way.
They've shown the Lionesses constantly that they've got the metal, they've got the bottle that arguably the men's team don't have. And of course, we're looking forward to that must-win game on Wednesday. A reminder, it's live on talkSPORT, England versus Netherlands from 5 p.m. But we're going to quickly head over to Wimbledon now, where Lisa O'Sullivan's going to give us an update on what's happening on court 1.
Well, we've got on centre court, actually, we've got a bit of drama here. Sonia Cartel sitting on her own racket, using it as a chair, because we seem to have a problem with the line calling technology. The chair umpire had to stop the players from playing a rally because he felt the ball was out, a shot that Cartel had played, but there was no audio sound from the brand new system. There are no line judges here at Wimbledon for the first time, and the match umpire's been on his phone to try and rectify the situation, which I suggest will be by playing the point again. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova is serving with advantage, 4 games all in the first set.
Thanks, Lisa. Incredible. Get the line judges back. It's a British institution.
Absolutely.
Get rid of VAR. Get rid of all this AI nonsense. We want people making the decisions, I reckon. I mean, we saw it. We were just talking about it with the VAR last night, weren't we?
Yeah, but look, they can still overturn it. They can still say, no, do you know what? I think it was in, you know, so let's do that. And do you know what? Wimbledon is such a traditional, you know, classic open, isn't it? You know, let's keep it to that tradition. So it's a shame.
Make common sense great again. That's what I say. Now we're going to also head back to the cricket where Sam Ellard is watching England. Last chance to try to get that sort of batting stand to get Ben Stokes on the scoreboard. How are they faring, Sam?
Yeah, they're faring well. I mean, these two guys, Jamie Smith and Ben Stokes, have done really well. England lost 2 wickets early on in the morning session. Pope and Brook going to England with 5 down early on in the morning session. And at that point, you thought maybe it was sooner rather than later that India could wrap up the win. But 70 runs these two have been batting for. Stokes has 33, Smith has 32. We are 4 balls away from lunch. England 153 for 5.
In stuff, Sam, thank you. Next on the Sunday session.
Teenage dream, the way you turn me on, I can't sleep, let's run away.
Yeah, that's Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. This is part of our Sounds of the Weekend. This is regarding Chelsea's new wonder kid, 16-year-old Chris Atherton, signed from Glenavon. Keep those suggestions coming in. 03717 223344 and 81089 on text. Next, we'll be looking ahead of the Club World Cup semi-finals this week, which will both, of course, be exclusively live on talkSPORT. And we've got some news regarding Marcus Rashford. Good afternoon, how are we? You're listening to the Sunday session with me, Max Scott. You've got the two Scots with you. I'm alongside Scott Minto. You might have just heard in the news headlines there a story about the Dalai Lama wanting to live to 130. The man opposite me, I reckon you could go to 130, mate. You're looking well.
Mate, thank you very much. I was going to ask you, you've got just under 100 years to go now, haven't you?
Yeah, just 100 years, 32, feeling fresh. According to Max Rushton, I look 21 or whatever it is. So, yeah, I'll take that.
Mate, take that. The older you get, the more you take that, so don't worry about that.
Absolutely right. Yeah. We are going to look at the Club World Cup in a minute and some breaking news regarding Marcus Rashford. But first, there has been a wicket at the cricket, Sam Ellard.
A massive moment on the stroke of a very late lunch. The final ball before lunch, Ben Stokes is out, LBW. Washington Sundar goes around the wicket, a ball angling into Stokes, a full delivery. Stokes comes forward, he wants to defend it. Was it bat first? Was it pad first? India thought it was pad first. Big appeal. The umpire also said pad first, giving out LBW. Stokes did review it. The replay showed it hit pad first, and importantly, the replays also showed the ball was going to hit middle stump, the top of middle stump. So Ben Stokes is out for 33. So the session started late at 12:40. Two early wickets for India. Pope and Brooks. Stokes and Smith steady the ship. That feels like a big moment though on the stroke of lunch. Stokes has gone LBW, so it's now a late lunch. We'll take 40 minutes off, and when we resume in the afternoon session, Chris Wokes will come out on his home ground and join Jamie Smith not out on 32. India need 4 more wickets to win this match.
Agonising stuff for Ben Stokes and England there. But over on talkSPORT 2 at 3 p.m, there's going to be live commentary of Hull KR against Leeds Rhinos in the Super League, and Craig Murdoch will be your commentator.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. It's top Hull KR, who are unbeaten in 11 games, 9 of those in the league. The win today, it will be a new club record for the Robins. They're looking like league leaders, winners come the end of September. But Rhinos should have beaten them 6 weeks ago. They were 8 points up with 10 minutes to go. They couldn't get the job done there. Can they get it done today? It's Hull KR versus Leeds Rhinos. 3 o'clock kickoff, full live commentary. talkSPORT 2.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you, Craig. Also from 3 p.m, we'll be keeping you updated on the British Grand Prix at Silverstone, an absolute classic with Jake Robson reporting for talkSPORT.
Countdown to the 76th British Grand Prix very much underway, and it's raining again at Silverstone. Max Verstappen is on pole for the 4th time this season. Then comes the two McLarens in the form of championship leader Oscar Piastri, with Lando Norris starting 3rd, ahead of the British pair George Russell and Lewis Hamilton in 4th and 5th. Norris yesterday predicted a great race in the offing, and with rain very much in play, I think he's absolutely right. Indeed, Piastri himself said the winner could come from as far back as 6th on the grid, where Charles Leclerc starts. Just 0.23 seconds covered the top 6 in qualifying. It's going to be a cracker. Gets underway in half an hour.
Thanks, Jake. Brilliant stuff. We're going to get onto the Club World Cup in a minute, but we've got an intriguing update on Marcus Rashford. We've had talkSPORT's very own Henry Winter put out a statement on X saying, "My understanding is that Marcus Rashford has not asked to leave Manchester United, but he accepts he's not part of Ruben Amorim's plans, that he has to leave to get playing again and fulfil his ambition of going to the 2026 World Cup with England. A move abroad looks like the next step." Scott Minto, what do you make of this? It feels like a little bit of politics, really. I mean, ultimately, we know Marcus Rashford's going to leave, but it seems to be a war of words on who's decided that he wants to. Is it the club or is it him?
Yeah, I mean, this is nonsense, really. I mean, to be fair to Henry, he's close to Marcus Rashford, and obviously he's quite happy to put the message out there. And Marcus Rashford is not going to get away his signing on fees and sort of by putting in a transfer request. He's not going to do that. The bottom line is, and Henry's absolutely right, how much does he want to play for England in the World Cup? He has to be playing for a top side this coming season. So therefore, it's a question of, and look, it's not easy when you're on that amount of money and you're not going to be on that amount of money again. You know, you're going to have to take a massive drop, maybe even 50%, maybe even a little bit more. Or you're saying, do you know what, I'm not going to. So Manchester United have got to keep on paying. Now, it's very easy for me to sit here and say what I think he should do. But if he really loves football and if he really wants to play for England in the World Cup, I think he's earned enough money and he should just drop what he needs to do to play for the club that he wants to. I mean, he's put on social media about him doing some boxing stuff and being in the gym.
And what was he wearing, Scott? He's wearing the Manchester United training kit. It feels like a statement to say, I'm not the one trying to get to leave, which seems bizarre to me because it's clear, Scott, he doesn't want to play for Manchester United.
Do you know what? I don't even think of it as he doesn't want to play for United. I think it's just as much, if not more, that United don't want him anymore. And now he's trying to look for a club and he's almost trying to curry favour with United fans. They're not silly, Max. They're not silly. You know, they've seen how he's acted over the last 3 or 4 years. He's had that one really good season where he got the great contract off the back of it, and he's been miles off it since.
Yeah, look, so United fans are
fed up with it.
Yeah. It is a loveless relationship, and I think ultimately United fans don't care who wants who to go. Ultimately, they want to start fresh, and if Marcus Rashford doesn't want to be a part of that, or the club don't want Rashford to be a part of it, it doesn't matter. I think they want the saga to finish.
But it is sad, Max. Go on.
Well, I'd say what he will benefit from is Nico Williams signing that 10-year deal with Athletic Bilbao, because now it seems that the door has opened, that the path has cleared for him to get what seems to be that dream move for him to Barcelona potentially.
Well, he's certainly trying his hardest, isn't he? Yeah. Speaking to Spanish influencers and saying how much he'd like to play with Lamine Yamal. Believe me, I'd like to play with Lamine Yamal, but that ain't going to happen. So we can all want something.
Yeah.
I think it's a sad story, really.
It really is.
I think if Marcus Rashford were able to get back to his very best, I actually would have him in the England team.
Yeah, he's been fantastic for England.
But
only
starter.
if he gets there. What I don't like about Tuchel's decision is that he picked him off the back of his worst form of his career. That's what I don't like.
I think Tuchel's gone down the route of it's all about the next 12, 18 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, who do I think at their very best could help win us the World Cup? Marcus Rashford is one of those. And I actually thought his attitude was a lot better for Aston Villa, but Aston Villa have turned him down. Why is that? Is that because his form or attitude wasn't good enough, or was that because he wasn't willing to drop money? At some point, if he wants to play regular football for a top club and have a chance of playing for England in the World Cup and become an absolute England icon, he needs to say, do you know what, I'm going to put some money to one side and realise I'm going to have to sacrifice that.
Yeah, I think we need to remind ourselves as well, it was only last December that Henry revealed Rashford was ready for a new challenge. He then joined Aston Villa, and now he's saying he hasn't asked to leave the club. I think it's clear he wants to be gone, and so does Manchester United. And if he wants, to play in the World Cup, then he needs to go and play top-tier football and perform. Just quickly before we break, we're going to move from the World Cup, where Marcus Rashford clearly wants to play, to the Club World Cup. Yeah. You've been commentating on it for us. We're through now to the semi-finals. It's Chelsea against Fluminense. We've got PSG against Madrid, which is going to be an absolute belter. Scott, how do you see your own Chelsea's chances?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Chelsea have got better and better as the tournament's gone on. Arguably, their best result was to lose to Flamengo, so then they could be in the other side of the draw.
Yeah.
But do you know what the bottom line is? In the knockout stages, they have got better. Against Benfica, another one of my old sides, for 86 minutes until that ridiculous get off the pitch for a couple of hours. Benfica only had one shot on target. It was a very professional, dominating performance. I thought the game against Palmeiras, I thought they were really good. First half should have been 2 or 3 up.
Yeah.
Second half they came at Chelsea, got the equaliser, and it was a very strange win, I have to say, but only a real ardent Palmeiras fan could say that Chelsea didn't win it. So they're getting better and better. And look, Fluminense is not going to be easy.
No. The South American sides have done themselves proud, haven't
absolutely,
they? Made the stamp on the tournament.
I feel Chelsea are getting better and better, so I do think they can get and will get to the final. I said that PSG Bayern, the winner of that, will go on to win, and that's for me not changed.
Yeah.
I'd love the Chelsea to go on and win it, but I do think I did the Real Madrid game last night, and actually first 20 minutes they were very, very good, but they're up against a very poor Dortmund side. I think PSG will have too much for them. Chelsea PSG final. I hope I'm wrong, but I fancy PSG there, I really do. But do you know what? In terms of the World Cup itself, They've actually produced a lot of good stories, a lot of good games, a lot of good results.
This is what I was going to say, Scott. You know, of course, there's been some fantastic games, particularly from my perspective, from South American sides. But I think a lot of the stories have come from what's been happening off the pitch, the weather delays, the state of the pitch, player fatigue. And now we've got this new story regarding ticket prices. So it's fantastic, fascinating. Club World Cup pricing strategy. On Wednesday, the standard ticket for Fluminense against Chelsea was $473. On Friday, it was $44. Just before the game, it's $13. Again, another story, fans not filling it, so they're having to drop the ticket prices.
Imagine if you bought the ticket for $473. Honestly.
Fuming.
I mean, honestly, that's outrageous. They should reimburse the people who bought the tickets for $473 if they're going to go down that low. I listen, I think on the pitch, and I've gone on the record to say this shouldn't be happening. As much as I've enjoyed it as a fan and broadcasting on it, from a player's point of view, they should be having a rest. But the football stories have been good. Off the pitch, this is absolutely outrageous, and every fan who spent $473 should be reimbursed
Absolutely
a lot of money.
Well, look, away from that to matters on the pitch, remember that both those semi-finals, PSG against Madrid and Fluminense against Chelsea, will be live exclusively on talkSPORT. We'll continue to discuss Chelsea, most importantly in regards to their transfer business next, but we're going to go back to Wimbledon, where our reporter Lisa O'Sullivan is watching.
And we're at the tail end of this first set. Soné Cartel looking to take it to a tiebreak. 30-love, 5-6 in this dramatic first set where the electronic line calling system failed. The umpire called for the point to be replayed. Now, Cartel had very clearly hit the ball out, but the robots that do the sound calling made no noise, and the umpire called for it to be replayed. Pavlyuchenkova then lost the point that she had won, and at the end of the change of ends, I heard her say to the umpire, "She stole it from me." She was right. The point was absolutely robbed. There are a team of line judges on standby to come onto the court if the system fails, but at the moment it is doing what it's supposed to do. Soné Cartel 30-15, 5-6 in the first set, and Cam Norrie is one game all in his fourth round match against Nicolas Jarry of Chile.
Thanks, Lisa. Brilliant stuff. Up next on the Sunday session. What a song, Scott.
Had to come out. Had to come out, Gabriel.
Yeah, brilliant song from the 90s, where, in my opinion, of course I was born then, music at its best. Britpop skit on. Right, that's Gabrielle Dreams Can Come True. It's part of our Sounds of the Weekend, of course, referring to that incredible story, Chelsea signing 16-year-old Chris Atherton, who made his professional debut at the age of 13 for Irish side Glenarvan. Keep those suggestions coming in. But next up, we're going to get you smiling.
this pretty sight.
Cause I'm just a teenage dirtbag, baby.
Yeah, these are our sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session here with me, Max Scott, alongside Scott Minto. The first one, an absolute belter from The Sound of Music. That's So Long, Farewell. This is regarding those 5 Manchester United players that want out of the club, although we're just hearing from Henry Winter that Marcus Rashford hasn't asked to leave the club. And me and Scott not sure.
Of course he hasn't.
Not sure that that's the case. And then, of course, Teenage Dirtbags, sent in by Junior, the Chelsea fan. This is regarding that incredible story. Chris Atherton signing from Northern Irish side Glenavon for Chelsea. I'm sure it'll be 5, 6, 7, 8 years before he puts on the Chelsea blue. But those are our sounds of the weekend. Of course, we got so much live sport coming up. Jake Robson is across the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Sam Ellard is bringing us cricket updates in terms of what's happening in that second test. And, of course, Lisa O'Sullivan at Wimbledon. But now it's time for this.
When you're smiling, when you're smiling.
Yeah, it's Sunday Smiles and kicking off. Who else to start with other than Cole Palmer? He keeps on making us smile, and his latest appearance in Sunday Smiles is after he revealed a hilarious post-match moment with new Chelsea signing Estevão Willian. After their 2-1 Club World Cup win over Palmeiras, Palmer greeted the teenager with a warm, "We look forward to seeing you, mate." But Estevão did not understand a word as he doesn't speak English yet. Palmer even needed a Portuguese-speaking teammate to translate. Despite the language barrier, though, the pair shared a classy shirt swap and embrace, and Palmer praised Estevão's talent, saying he's a top player with amazing quality. The friendly confusion only underlines the warm welcome waiting at Stamford Bridge. Expect English lessons and some thumbs-up celebrations as Estevão settles into Chelsea life, Scott.
Or maybe Cole Palmer wants to start learning Portuguese.
Yeah, perhaps. I think he's got it in the bag.
Brazilian Portuguese as well. There is a little bit of a difference. Phil Foden is proving he's not just a football star, but a top mate too. Back in his childhood fishing rival Niall Brown in the boxing ring. The Manchester City ace and Brown grew up together in Stockport, bonding over fishing trips long before Foden was snapped up by City at age 4. Is that right? Wow. Now 25, Foden is helping 27-year-old Brown punch above his weight in boxing, sponsoring his training camps and supporting his rise from small local shows to a big Manchester arena fight on July the 5th. Brown says it means a lot, praising Foden as a normal lad who never forgot where he came from, even as they both chase success in different rings. You see, Max? Not all footballers are bad.
Absolutely not. Fair play to Phil Foden there, sticking to his roots. We love to see it. But yesterday on the Saturday session, Ollie Klink and Rory Jennings were joined by non-league side Seaford Towns manager Paul Wise, who explained his incredible walk for Movember.
We've sort of, as a club, supported Movember for quite a few years now, and we've actually had 3 players in the last 18 months that have all had some sort of cancer. All 3 have beat it, which is great, and all 3 have played for the club since. So we've been working with Movember now for quite a few years, and we want to try and raise as much money as we can to give a bit back. We're going to stop off at 7 clubs that are all in our league on the way through, and they're going to sort of like come out, give us a drink and something to eat. Our chair lady Sarah and the club physio Charlie that are in our minibus that's going to be like the support vehicle if we need anything, which, you know, the bus is full of supplies. And then no sleep, we're just going to sort of keep going.
Incredible stuff from the Seaford boys there. They started the walk at 7 p.m. last night and are planning to finish at 7 p.m. tonight to donate. Head to Seaford Town, marching for Movember. They're very close to reaching their £5,000 target. Scott, in terms of Movember, you ever done it? I only started growing facial hair when I was about 30. But I don't think I can do a respectable.
Do you know what?
moustache.
I haven't, and now it's just going grey. So I'm not quite sure that I should.
I think it looked good, mate.
Do you think?
Grey tash, with a little twirl at the end.
Okay, well, maybe I'll try it. Let's do it next year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, or this year. Finally, the legendary reunion of Oasis hit the headlines, and for all the right reasons. The band paid their own heartfelt tribute during their reunion tour opener in Cardiff to Liverpool star Diogo Jota, who tragically passed away earlier this week. As the band performed Live Forever, an image of Jota in his number 20 Liverpool shirt was displayed on the big screen, prompting a wave of applause from the 75,000 strong crowd.
Brilliant.
Despite being Manchester City supporters, the Gallagher brothers' gesture resonated deeply with fans praising the band's class and solidarity. What a touching sentiment, and a real testament from the legendary band to Diogo Jota.
Yeah. There's been some stunning tributes, hasn't there, been paid? I mean, as you would expect, it's one of those moments where any tribalism sort of is put aside. The whole of the football world is united, and it's been, incredibly touching to see just all of the tributes honouring the life of Diogo Jota, who, of course, was a stunning player, but what has obviously come out is the humble superstar that he is and the type of man that he was. I mean, there's no end to the tragedy attached to this. You know, just newlywed to his childhood sweetheart, got 3 beautiful young children. You've got to feel as well for those Liverpool teammates it's a massive loss, Scott. You'll know from your time in professional football just how difficult that'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. And, first and foremost to his parents, to lose 2 of their boys. Absolutely heartbreaking, it really is. And we discussed this on the All Access podcast this morning with Sam and Cricky. You know, I played with Mark Vivian Foe, who he didn't die when he was at West Ham, but he did a few years later. And to think that, in his prime, not just football prime, but in life, still very, very young indeed, tragically taken away, is absolutely heartbreaking. I was in touch with Gianluca Vialli as well during the Euros. I saw a picture of him, or I saw him just before a game, and I took a photo of him and Roberto Mancini and said, look, you're the best looking Italian, you're the best looking management in the Euros. And I wasn't expecting him to get back to me. He hadn't spoken to him in 25 years. He did straight away. And then when I found out, we kept in contact throughout the Euros, and when he passed away, I was very emotional with that as well. But I haven't actually had a teammate for it to happen at that moment, so that I can't even begin to think what they must be thinking now and how hard that was, and seeing the pictures of Joao Cancelo and Ruben Neves as well before the games. I was covering the Championship football when they first came to Wolves, and it was, guys, we've got Champions League players here in the Championship, let's enjoy them as much as possible. They were different class on the pitch. You could tell they were different class off the pitch. And all the stories now that's coming out, and we talk about footballers can be good, I think there's not enough stories that do come out about that. I understand why not, because there's so much good that footballers do that it wouldn't be out there all the time. But a really good guy, first and foremost, tragically passed away. And I send my very best to his family.
You mentioned his really good friend and teammate there, Ruben Neves. His one of his tributes was, they say you only truly lose someone when you forget them. I will never forget you. And there's one thing that we can rest assured is that Liverpool Football Club will ensure, as they've said, that number 20 shirt will be immortalised and that nobody will ever forget Diogo Jota. We're talking about a football club that has sadly been through their fair share of tragedies, and
far too much.
Absolutely, and we know that Liverpool as a city, Liverpool as a football club will rally around Jota and his family and make sure that his life is honoured forever, and that's something that we know for sure. This is a Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, But the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impact with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point, the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour Optic Yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are we? You're listening to the Sunday session on talkSPORT with me, Max Scott, alongside former Chelsea left-back. I bet you wish you were still playing, weren't you, the Club World Cup?
Actually, no, I don't. I was quite happy to play when I did, to be honest.
OK, there we go. Yeah, the best time in football when you were playing Scott Minto. First, right, we are going to Wimbledon. What's the latest, Lisa O'Sullivan?
It's time to dig deep for Sonia Kartal. She trails Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova in their Wimbledon last 16 meeting. After a failure of the electronic calling system in the first set, it was decided by a tie-break. The Russian has also got an early break in this second set. Meanwhile, on court one, Cam Norrie leads Nicola Jarry 4-3 in the first set.
Brilliant stuff, Lisa. Thank you. It's currently lunch on the fifth and final day between England and India, with England requiring 455 runs to win, but we've only got 4 wickets remaining. We'll, of course, be speaking to our reporter Sam Ellard very shortly. Next, the British Grand Prix at Silverstone has just got underway. Jake Robson.
The lights are literally going out as we speak. A bit of early drama as well, as about a third of the grid for the 76th British Grand Prix actually went to change their tyres on the formation lap. It was raining earlier at Silverstone. It's drying out, but it's still very wet in place. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race, full of strategy, full of more rain to come as well, we're told. Max Verstappen led them off from pole and leads currently in the third corner.
Brilliant stuff, Jake. Thank you. Later at 5 p.m, we'll be keeping you up to date with Norway against Finland in the Women's Euros. And over on talkSPORT 2, it's just got underway between Hull KR and Leeds Rhinos in the Super League. This is a Sunday session on talkSPORT. Now let's take a look at the latest cricket test series action with Betfair.
England versus India Test Series preview on talkSPORT with Betfair, built for big game players. Head to the Betfair app for the latest odds. 18+, gambleaware.org.
So at lunch on the 5th day, currently the latest odds for the winner of the first test are as follows. Understandably, England 125-1. Such is the state of play. India 11-1 and a draw 1-20. Remember, for all the reaction to the culmination of the second test, head to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel or the following on podcast. That was a look at the latest test series action with Betfair. 18+, be gambleaware.org.
England versus India Test Series preview on talkSPORT with Betfair. Built for big game players. Head to the Betfair app for the latest odds. 18 plus gambleaware.org.
Time now to look at the latest transfer news. There's absolutely tons of rumours, gossip and breaking lines as we speak, and there is one place we've got to start. We'll get to your Chelsea in a moment, Scott, but
City Ground, yeah.
And of course we'll spend the next half an hour after that talking about Forest, but we've got to start with Arsenal, because of course they've confirmed the signing of Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. That's really important with, you know, players leaving like Jorginho, etc. But breaking news this afternoon, talkSPORT understands that Victor Gyökeres's camp are confident of securing a move to Arsenal, and just coming through in the last few minutes from our chief football correspondent Alex Crook, he's agreed terms on a 5-year deal. Scott, just last week we were lamenting, when will Arsenal sign a striker? It was 3 years to the day on Friday, actually, since they last signed a striker in Gabriel Jesus. I refuse to say they signed Kai Havertz as a striker. If this gets over the line, how important is this for Arsenal?
Well, it was Alex Crook who said this morning that Arsenal have signed more goalkeepers recently than they have strikers, which is just incredible. It's massive. I mean, I've been saying for a long time, they're not silly. I think I said it last week.
No,
it will happen. They just want to try and get the best deal. You know, I know for a couple of years they're thinking, okay, can we get close to what many could say was the best English side we've ever seen, Manchester City. Last year was the one where, you know, that was meant to be their year. So this year's a big one. They didn't get the striker, as you said. Quite simply have to now. And it was just a matter of time. I know people were panicking and they haven't done it. And in an ideal world, and it looks like if it is going to be done in the next few days, it can still be done in time for the beginning of pre-season. I think clubs don't, maybe they do realise, but they don't care because the finances are more important. The importance of someone coming in early in a pre-season to get to know not just the tactics on the pitch, but the lads off it as well, wherever they go away, and they can have a bit of, you know, a few drinks afterwards and just sit down and get to know each other. It's so important, rather than signing at the end of the window and then expect to hit the ground running for that season. So I think it's absolutely massive. I really do.
You've played in Portugal. I've been surprised by the amount of football fans that have been turning their nose up at Victor Gyökeres, who scored 100 goals in 2 seasons, saying, oh, well, it's just the Portuguese league. There's not many strikers flying around. He's done his job. He's been banging the goals and he got a hat-trick against City. Surely this is a great coup, whatever the price for Arsenal, who need a striker.
Well, we know only top left-backs play in Portugal. I move swiftly on. There's no laughter there. But no, look, I've heard you say that before a few times, Max, honestly, and you're right. Look, of course it's not the strength of the Premier League, and the depth of the teams that they play, there is a big drop. Yeah. But still, he has done it against the big boys. Big boys domestically, the big boys in Europe as well. I think he's ready. He's prime. And it's just what Arsenal need. And interesting, you know, whether they did, I heard they were sort of lining up Sesko and Gyökeres and see which one they want. It looks like they're going for Gyökeres, and why would that be? But I do feel, and listening to Perry Groves as well, I get where he's coming from. He's a ready-made senior pro. What I've been saying about what Chelsea need, this is exactly what Arsenal need, because Liverpool have bought well. You know, City have bought well as well, and we'll see how long it takes for them to gel. They were brilliant against Juventus, but then terrible defensively against Al Hilal. But I think they'll be up there. Arsenal cannot afford to drop away, and it's a big season for Arteta.
Well, this is exactly what I was going to say. We've got Martin Zubimendi through the door for Arsenal. We understand Christian Norgod's close. They're going to strengthen defensively with Mosquera. You've also got the talk of Eberechi Eze, Rodrigo, and now Victor Gyökeres. Surely this is make or break for Mikel Arteta.
Make or break. So if he doesn't win the title, he should be sacked. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'm suggesting that it's never going to get any better for Mikel Arteta in terms of what he's got. He's come so close. Yes, he got them an FA Cup, but it's been years since they won anything. Yeah. Maybe he'd be saved with a domestic title. But in terms of the Premier League, surely the top brass at Arsenal are thinking, we've given everything we can, mate. If it doesn't get over the line, maybe they'll look elsewhere.
Well,
there's a danger of that?
Goalkeeper-wise, defence-wise, and midfield-wise, if they get the Norgard and Zubimendi, which it looks like they will, absolutely. If they bring in an Eze plus a Gyökeres, I don't think they can give him any more. He can turn around and say, look, for 3 seasons or 4 seasons, you haven't given me what I wanted, and that is a striker. And I've said this before. Might even have said this last week. Playing for West Ham, we played at Anfield. You go to Anfield, Michael Owen probably had 5 touches of the ball. 2 of them went in the back of the net. We played well. We're going home on the way home in the bus thinking, what happened there?
But it's been so many years.
There's nothing like a top-class striker, along with a top-class goalkeeper as well, that can make the big difference. And Arsenal drew far too many games. And in the really tight matches, just something out of nothing, that's where your top striker, not necessarily a midfielder or even a wide player. Of course, you want the goals to be shared around. But that top natural striker that can suddenly half a chance, bang, goal, win. Brilliant. Go home with 3 points despite not playing particularly well. Makes such the difference. Owen was brilliant at it. Gyökeres could be as well.
What I'm saying is, if they don't win the league, do you think there's a risk that Arteta gets
Oh, absolutely. There is a risk for sure if they don't. I think it goes to... We'll have to wait and see how close he gets. Again, if it goes to the last game of the season and they lose it by a point...
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
If they're 6 or 7 points off and they finish third and it's not a deep run in the Champions League... I think he's very much at risk.
High stakes for Mikel Arteta. There's this sort of link emerging now between Arsenal and your beloved Chelsea. We've heard talkSPORT understands Noni Madueke has agreed personal terms with Arsenal ahead of a move from Chelsea. Although there is, a fee is yet to be agreed. What do you make of that? Do you think it's good business for Arsenal? Is it good business for Chelsea?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it from Chelsea's point of view. I like him. I really do. And not only is he a really good inverted winger playing on the right, I've seen him enough times playing the left, being an old-fashioned left winger, a little drop of the shoulder, get down the outside. I did the game for Talk at Stamford Bridge against Manchester United, and I think it was Mazuari who was right back. Went past him countless times, just your typical left wing play from a left-footed left winger. He can do both. So I'm really surprised that they're, one, getting rid of him, and then with respect to Jamie Gittins, it's almost a like-for-like replacement.
Well, I was going to say maybe the reason, if it's true that he's already agreed personal terms with Arsenal, Noni Madueke, maybe it's because he's looked at Gittins coming in and thought, I'm not getting any game time.
He hasn't always had a lot of game time under Maresca, and you do get a feeling under a manager where, does he like me or does he not?
Yeah.
I don't know what he's like sort of on the training ground and how they sort of get on with each other. I personally would have him in my starting 11 if there was the Club World Cup final. I rate him that highly.
Wow. Okay.
I think he's really... And actually for England, he's done pretty well as well, when there have been some abject performances. So I don't get this one. I know I wouldn't say I've been a fan of Maresca, but I've defended him. A lot of people, and I get it, the football may not be really easy on the eye, but to finish fourth, as well as the Europa Conference, I mean, they should have won the Europa Conference, but to finish fourth as well, I think that's a really good first season, with everything that's going on behind the scenes and the amount of money that's been spent with youngsters, not with senior pros like Abramovich used to. But in terms of this, I don't get it. I like Noni Madueke. I want to see him in a Chelsea shirt, not an Arsenal one.
Speaking of unsettled attacking wingers, just quickly, Scott, I want to get your take on this. talkSPORT understands that Arsenal winger Ethan Nwaneri is reluctant to sign a new deal without guarantees over his playing time. He's a youngster. Do you reckon you could even see him, a swap deal involving Madueke and Nwaneri?
Arsenal fans will be in uproar if that was the case. I mean, he's the Premier League's youngest player, isn't he? He was 15 at the time. He's 17 now. I thought he had more minutes than I thought he would. Amazing talent. And if Gareth Southgate was still in charge, I'd think he'd have a chance of somehow trying to get into the national side for the World Cup. Is he in a
position to demand minutes at Arsenal?
No, he's not. No, he's absolutely not. And he's still really young. And again, we had this conversation this morning. It's like, you're Arsenal Football Club, one of the biggest in the country, one of the biggest in Europe. Great place to develop. You're still so young. Forget about the money. I'm not sure it's a money thing because the money will come. But playing time, you've already had a lot more minutes than I thought you would have had in the season gone. And if you're good enough and training well enough, you will play. Surprised.
How the game has changed. I'm a Forest fan. Brian Clough, he would have never had... If a teenager had said, I want demands of minutes, he'd be like, get gone, see you later. And maybe there's an issue happening there. Look, we want to hear from Arsenal fans. 03717 22 3344 81089. Is next season make or break for Mikel Arteta? And what do you think about Ethan Nwaneri demanding extra minutes or demanding more game time with potential of Eza coming in, potential of Rodrigo coming in? What do you make of his future? Arsenal fans, get in touch. Before we break, we've got to go back to Wimbledon. Lisa O'Sullivan, how is Sonia Cartel getting on?
We are back on serve in this second set, but Kartel serving 15-40 against Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova. Took that first set on a tiebreak. Kartel, though, so cool and composed. She doesn't seem to get too ruffled about missed opportunities and just gets back in there and starts the fight once again. But that is another break for Pavlyuchenkova, so she leads 3-4 in this deciding set by a set to love. And Cam Norrie's taken the first set against Nicolas Jarry of Chile, 6-3.
Brilliant stuff, Lisa. Thank you. Lisa will be keeping us updated on Wimbledon throughout the show. We're now going to head over to the British Grand Prix where Jake Robson is watching for us. Jake, what's the latest?
An action-packed, rain-affected opening to the British Grand Prix that saw 5 drivers change from intermediate to slick tyres at the end of the formation lap as the track dries out at Silverstone. Max Verstappen currently leads as he led them off from pole. Oscar Piastri second, Lando Norris third and Lewis Hamilton fourth. We've had 2 virtual safety cars and we've got more rain forecast as well. There is going to be a lot more to happen as we end lap 6 between now and the 52 laps that are going to be taking place in this race.
Brilliant stuff, Jake. Thank you. On an absolute belter of a day for British sport. He will be keeping us updated on how the Brits are getting on at the British Grand Prix here in Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton just behind Max Verstappen, and we know how good Hamilton can be in the wet, so we will keep you updated throughout the show. But up next on the Sunday session. Sonia, the Leeds United fan, sends in I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor, an absolute classic. This in regards to the story of Manchester United players looking to leave the club, looking to survive Manchester United and move elsewhere. Keep those texts coming in, 0371722 3344. But Arsenal fans, we want to hear from you about next season. Is it make or break for Mikel Arteta? Is it make or break after news that you're finally potentially getting that striker, Victor Gyökeres? Get in touch. If you call us now, you will get through. This is the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
But now I hold my head up high and you see me.
One of my favourite songs, Scott. Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, on live on the Sunday session. We're asking you for your sounds of the weekend. You heard Taylor Swift there. We're never getting back together. This is Georgia from Manchester sending that in regarding all of the players from Manchester United who want out of Old Trafford. And then Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, sent in by Johnny the Villa fan. This is, of course, regarding Chris Atherton, the 16-year-old striker. Dreams come true, getting that move from Irish side Glenavon to Chelsea, where I imagine, Scott, he won't play a minute for many years to come.
For many years, no. I mean, Fleetwood Mac, absolute classic. I thought you were a Swiftie there for a moment.
Oh, no, I'll listen to... I mean, I won't listen to Taylor Swift, but when she's on, you know, there's some pop in there, isn't there?
Absolutely. But yeah, Fleetwood Mac, classic quality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you rather see Fleetwood Mac than Oasis?
I probably would, actually. Is that wrong?
I don't think it is, actually. I mean, I'm desperate for a ticket. I've not got one yet for Oasis.
You ain't going to get one now.
Well, I've said this before, but my brother-in-law and sister got 16 tickets between them and a few mates. Didn't give me one, mate. But I'm waiting in the wings as first sub, you see. So I'm waiting to see.
Are you? Is that what they said?
Yeah.
You know you're about fifth sub.
No, I'm first sub. Well, I better be anyway. If you're listening, get me on that.
Do you know what? They're probably about level. I'd be happy with either.
Well, look, Fleetwood Mac, by the way, just absolute classics. Right, you're listening to the Sunday session on talkSPORT. It's a belter of a day for live sport in the UK. We've got Wimbledon updates upcoming. We've got updates from the second test against India and, of course, the British Grand Prix. But we have been asking Arsenal fans to get in touch because we want to know if Gyökeres is over the line. talkSPORT understands a 5-year deal has been agreed with Gyökeres, that his camp are confident of getting that over the line. If that's the case, we want to know from Arsenal fans, is it make or break for Arsenal? Ben, the Arsenal fan, is on the line. Ben, is it make or break for Mikel Arteta next season?
Not Ben White, is it?
No, it's Ben White, so close. No, it's not make or break at all. I think talk of make or break is absolute nonsense, in all honesty.
But it's been Ben, you haven't won a Premier League in 20-odd years. If you can't do it with the players that you're getting in, are you ever going to do it under Mikel Arteta?
Yeah, well, I mean, we finished second 3 seasons in a row. We finished second to a fantastic Manchester City team, and then this last season, Liverpool were great. I don't think they were that good, but we didn't have a striker for the most part of that season. We had Odegaard out for 3 months, Saka out for 3 months, and we got to Champions League semi-final. So I think as long as we're challenging for the league, then I'm happy with that. If we challenge for the league, have a good cup run, do well in the Champions League, that's all you can ask for, really.
Ben, do you know...
In such a stacked league, there's so much talent around the Premier League. Only one team can win it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I do think the job that he's done, I think sometimes Arsenal have been ridiculed, and I think it's been really unfair because, as you say, I personally think Manchester City are the greatest side we've seen. I mean, we can definitely say no one's ever won 4 straight top-flight titles before. No one in the history of English football. So for 2 of those seasons, I think, they were very unlucky. Last year, it should have been better. But what would it take for you to turn around and say, do you know what, Mikel, you have to go?
Oh, well, if we got off to a really slow start, like, it's injuries and decisions against, like, because last season we had a lot of decisions go against us, wrong decisions in my opinion, at the early part of the season, which changes your momentum. So if we had a full squad and we end up, way off the pace in the early part of the season, I'm going to be asking questions of him. But he's had a lot of questions asked of him over the past, and he's always answered them, in my opinion.
What do you think about Gyökeres being the one?
I don't know that much about him, if I'm honest. Obviously, I know he's done well in the Champions League. He's done well in the league in Portugal, but Isak's the one, mate. Alexander Isak's the best striker in the world. I wanted him. It's too late now. Newcastle are never going to let him go, but I really wanted to sign him like 18 months ago, 2 years ago. We didn't do it.
Brilliant stuff, Ben. Very patient with Mikel Arteta. Nothing wrong with that in a world where managers are constantly being sacked. Fair play. We're now going to go to Lawrence, the Chelsea fan. Lawrence, you disagree with Scott on his assessment about Noni Madueke?
Hi, Lawrence.
You're right, Scott.
I'm good,
listen, I wouldn't say I disagree, right? But just hear me out on this, right? When Chelsea signed Madueke 2-3 years ago, everyone spoke about him. What's all these young players doing? Blah blah blah. But now, he started to show a bit of ability, and his numbers have been okay this season. My question to you is, Chelsea double their profit and they sell him for 50 million, okay?
Oh, don't go down that route, Lawrence. Don't go down around the accountancy route. Let's try and win some trophies. Sorry, I said I'd let you talk. Go on.
But Chelsea did win a trophy. Let's just have it factually. We did win a trophy.
Okay. Big trophies, yeah.
But wait for me. Okay, but it's still a trophy.
Yeah, true. Absolutely.
My point to you is, where does that leave Esteval? If you've been watching the Club World Cup and you've seen the talent of this young boy who's coming in, who's meant to be the next best sort of thing, and Chelsea have already got Pedro Neto and they've got James Gittins and they've got other players coming in. We know that. Quenda next summer, who's this amazing new young Portuguese player. Where does that leave Esteval? Because Madueke is going to have to make room, or he's going to have to fight for his place. What do you think of an Esteval?
I'll be honest with you, mate, and I covered the game. And obviously it was a good goal, although I don't think it's a goal. I think Robert Sanchez didn't cover himself in glory with that particular strike. He's an incredibly talented player. No one can deny that. But how's he going to do in the Premier League? It's a completely different ball game, the physicality. And Lawrence, not just the sort of physicality of what we see on the pitch, but he's a young Brazilian kid moving continents. Don't yet know if sounds like he doesn't speak English yet. To go into, I know what it's like moving to another country. People used to make fun of my Portuguese and they'd answer me back in English very quickly. So it was quite easy for me to settle into Portugal. Not easy for a young Brazilian kid to settle into London. So I don't expect him, as good as he is, to be a major player for Chelsea, whether Noni Madueke is there or not. I think he's another one of those that's there for the future.
But my question to you, Scott, as well, then, is like people would have had that perception of a Lamine Yamal, young player. I know
he's a different level, mate. He's a different level. He's almost bordering on Lionel Messi. Okay,
fine. But if you've done, which I'm probably sure you have, if you've done your research on Esteval, the guy's lit up the Brazilian league at a year ago anyway, and it's been unbelievable. And also, let's remember this: that Brazilian league is very physical, very, very physical. It's not just a little play, touch, a little bit of a pop in football. These guys tackle hard, work hard. You've seen the intensity in the Club World Cup. They've made some of those European sides look a little bit silly.
Yes, although I do think there will be probably two European sides in the final, and a European side will win it. But yes, I do agree with you, and you're absolutely spot on about the Brazilian league as well. Not only is it very physical, people think Brazil and it'd be flair and little touches and 1-2s. Brazilian league is not like that. The pitches aren't particularly great as well, so he's honing in his skills on pitches that you don't have in the Premier League. So I'm with you on that one. I'm just, in my opinion, and listen, mate, I'd love to speak to you in 12 months' time and let's see who's right here. But I think it's a lot to ask for an 18-year-old Brazilian kid to move continents, move to London, to learn a new language, a new culture, a new physicality of the Premier League as well. Because it's not just about tackles, it's about the intensity of it. I think it's going to be very difficult for him.
I just also think that Chelsea have a lot of strength in depth as well, and we're not just talking Esteval. You've got Pedro Neto, you've got Jamie Gittins, you've got João Pedro who's now come in. I just think everyone always keeps laughing at Chelsea's strategy and the way it works, but there are now clubs now starting to copy it and go, actually, these long-term contracts work, and they're making double the money. And we're in trouble here because we now have got a PSR problem. And look at the state of some of the clubs like Manchester United, unfortunately Aston Villa. There's other clubs that are looking over their shoulder, and I just think Chelsea, those owners they've got a couple of things wrong. Let's not. I'm not going to say that, but they've got a lot right that people will actually going, oh, maybe we should have been doing that. Brilliant. Now everyone's trying to play catch up.
Yeah, I'd love to go back and forth there. The PSR, they've just been fined by UEFA, and they've sold a hotel in the women's side as well to survive PSR. But Lawrence, let's have another conversation another time.
Brilliant stuff, Lawrence. Thanks for getting in touch. Keep your calls coming in. We are gonna continue that conversation regarding Arsenal. Is it make or break for them? Now they've got Victor Gyökeres, but we've got to quickly head to Sam Ellard, who's watching the cricket. What's the latest, Sam?
We're back underway in the afternoon session. The equation now is pretty simple. India need 4 wickets to win this test match. England have got to try and bat for the rest of the day. Spin from both ends after lunch, and there's lots of spin for the first time really in this test match. It looks like ball is dominating. Bat sharp turn from Jadeja in this over now. He's bowling to Smith. The ball pitched outside leg stump, spun all the way and just missed off stump. But then the very next ball, Jamie Smith playing a ball on leg stump, got a thick outside edge, and the ball landed safe. Lots of rough outside of the leg stump for Jadeja to work into. So Washington Sundar, who got Ben Stokes' ball before lunch, and Ravi Jadeja bowling in tandem. Out the crease for England, Jamie Smith, who made that unbeaten 150 in the first innings. He's one away from another 50 in this match. He's got 49 runs to his name. Chris Wokes has 2. It's a tall order for England, who are 172 for 6. India needing 4 wickets to win this match and level the series at 1-1.
Brilliant stuff, Sam. Thank you. We're now heading back over to the British Grand Prix. Jake Robson, what's the latest, mate?
Crash. It's actually because it's raining so hard at Silverstone. A massive turnaround in the last 4 laps. The heavens have opened and leader Max Verstappen was passed by both McLarens, Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Verstappen managed to get Norris back at the pit stops where Norris had a problem with one of the wheel nuts going on his McLaren. So the order currently, Piastri first, Verstappen second, Norris third. We are behind a safety car. It's hosing it down at Silverstone. Going to be plenty more to come between now and the end of the race.
Brilliant, exciting stuff going on across the UK in the live sport. Of course, we will keep you updated throughout the show. But up next on the Sunday session. Yeah, this is our Sounds of the Weekend. You're not the boss of me now. The theme tune from Malcolm in the Middle, sent in by Kenny from Glasgow. This is regarding all of those United players that do not want to be managed by Ruben Amorim. They want out of Manchester United. Keep those suggestions coming in. 03717 2233 44 810 89. But next up, we're going to continue to take your calls on both Arsenal and Chelsea. It seems as though these two clubs are making all the stories in the transfer window this July. Good afternoon. You are listening to the Sunday session here on talkSPORT with me, Max Scott, alongside former Chelsea and Benfica fullback Scott Minto. We've got tons of live sport going on. We've got Sonny Cartel, Cam Norrie at Wimbledon. We'll be bringing you updates on that shortly, as well as a rain-affected Grand Prix at Silverstone. And of course, the cricket, where it looks like England are going to lose that second test, but you just never know. With Bazball, we'll be keeping you updated. But of course, Oasis kicked off their long-awaited gig in Cardiff this weekend, and we're giving you a chance to win a pair of Oasis tickets in Manchester on July the 19th. Yes, you heard that right. Oasis Live 25 is sold out, but talkSPORT can get you in. The competition ends tomorrow. But that's not all. Alongside the tickets, we'll put you up for a night in a hotel, put $5,000 in your back pocket, completely tax-free. Listen up right now for everything you need to know on how to enter.
On iArcade, you have to be over 18 to enter in the UK, excluding Northern Ireland, for the chance to win a pair of tickets to the most electrifying rock and roll reunion of the century, a hotel stay and $5,000 spending money. Text the word Oasis to 83338 by Monday the 7th of July at 11 p.m, and you'll be entered into the draw to go supersonic this summer. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission, or post your name and number to Oasis Prize Draw, PO Box 3190, Colchester, CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of July.
This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. Good luck, yeah? Sorted.
Right, we have been asking you to get in touch with us regarding Arsenal and Chelsea. Lots of transfer news. We've got that potential switch for Noni Madueke. Of course, that big breaking news regarding Victor Gyökeres. talkSPORT understands that he's agreed terms, a 5-year deal with Arsenal at his camp, are confident of getting it over the line. Dave is an Arsenal fan. Dave, what do you make of the business?
Good afternoon, gents.
Afternoon,
Dave. Well, brilliant show. I think it's brilliant. I'm a bit in shock. We always seem to leave it to the last minute, but I think the biggest thing that the catalyst that has made this activity happen now is the fixtures, the first sort of 6-7 fixtures coming out of the season, because I don't think you can buy at the end of the transfer window and then expect players to hit the ground running. But I think it's made him move. I think when they're saying they're putting Arteta on the spot, I don't think other clubs will get that sort of time, but I think there's a lot down to the players as well, to a degree, when you think about this. But I was just going to say about the Gyökeres and Sesko. Looking at the stats of Sesko, people going, oh, he's only scored in the Portuguese league. Well, you can only score in the games that you put in. Do you know what I mean?
Scott, Dave's got a really good point there. With the fixture list that Arsenal have been dealt, they need a striker not to come in late in the window. They need Gyökeres now to bed in, as you say, to get them through those fixtures, because it could be the case after the first 7 fixtures, Arsenal are out of the race.
Well, if you look at what happened last season, Arsenal didn't start in the way that they had done in the previous 2 seasons. You argue what you want. The previous quarter was sort of saying some dodgy decisions. I'm not sure about that. I think most of them, maybe the Declan Rice one was unfortunate, but Trossard not so. They have to hit the ground running here. I think it's a brilliant point from Dave, because it's a really tough start to the season, and therefore even more reinforces what I was saying earlier about get the players in, make sure they know what, one, the manager wants, but 2, how each player ticks both on and off the pitch. So I think it's an absolute must, and I think they know that, Dave, don't they? And realise whatever they say about Mikel Arteta and whether they're really happy with him or not, if he doesn't win something, then the outside noise will get more and more and more, won't it?
The biggest thing that worried me this week, coming out this weekend, was the Madueke deal. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just don't think, if Chelsea are letting him go, why are they letting him go? We should be looking at the better sort of players. So I've got my fingers, my toes, everything sort of crossed. And it sounds really bad, but I hope Martinelli goes. I don't think he's that sort of high-level sort of calibre player. If we get Rodrigo in, if Madueke comes in as a backup potentially for either side to add a bit of sort of strength in depth, I think there's no excuse. Arsenal should be really up there, sort of challenging with a big squad.
Absolutely. Look, it's exciting times for Arsenal, with Gyökeres looking like he's coming in. The links to Eze, the links to Rodrigo. Will is an Arsenal fan. How are you feeling about the transfer window and this news breaking about Gyökeres? Well,
Guys, yeah, thanks. Great show. I am over the moon about it. He was the one I wanted. I rate Sesko a lot, but we need someone that can come in now in their prime and really deliver. And Sesko's got all the potential in the world, but it's just not. We can't afford to take a risk on an unproven player at this level. And I'm not necessarily saying that Gyökeres has got that, but he has shown himself in the the Champions League, and that is, the highest quality that you can prove yourself in. So. I think he's going to come in, and even if he does half the goals he did for Sporting, that's going to be better than what we've had in this past season that we've had. And just sticking up for Arteta, when he came into Arsenal, our on the floor, we had players like Aubameyang turning up with his gold Lamborghinis, and just was shot. There was no culture or that sort of sense of wanting to work together to achieve something, and that's what is one of the hardest things to change at a football club. And Arteta's managed to do that. He's had to make some hard decisions.
Well, you're not wrong about Arteta and the culture that he's made. I think it's a really well point made, but. Is it make or break for him in terms of the league next season? Because I just think, maybe not you from what you've been saying, but I think there will be a section of Arsenal fans that will grow very weary if you're not in that title race early days.
Yeah, listen, we all want to win things. That's the reality of it, and I think that we are due that. But when we look at the last couple of years, I think. Painful that it's taken this long for the recruitment to realise that is the missing link. I think there's a little bit of arrogance there, thinking players like Martinelli can get those goals from those wide positions, and actually if we've just got that target man like Havertz up front, then that'll be enough. But it's not enough. They've proven that, and I think Martinelli was actually. I think there was a time where he needed to be dropped for Trossard when Trossard was pulling up trees, and when he was getting sort of 20 minutes a game. And I think then Trossard got annoyed because he wasn't getting his fair share of football. And then what you've got is you've got one player that thinks he's untouchable, and then Trossard thinks, well, what have I got to get in the team? And I think he's a bit too loyal to those players like Martinelli, which at his age, he's not that young now, but when in those times he needs that message. Well, actually, I've got a lot of faith in you, but if you don't do the business on the pitch, you're not gonna get your time on the pitch.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, there's been links. We've got to remind. There's been links for Martinelli to Al Nassr, Saudi links there. So with some of the players that potentially coming in, it could pave the way for him to get that move away from Arsenal. Jesse's an Arsenal fan. What have you got to say? Is it make or break for Mikel Arteta this season?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Jesse.
Crack on.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, no, honestly, thanks guys for having me. But yeah, it is make or break. Honestly, I would say first things first, not buying a striker in January was a massive letdown for Arsenal. I believe it's unfathomable how they couldn't bring someone in during that time. We were very inconsistent in front of goal, and having Havertz, who was again inconsistent, and obviously he's not a natural striker. Let's be honest, he's not like I would say he's more of a number 10, more like a shadow striker, someone who would play just behind the striker or come in slightly from deep. But there were plenty of chances where we needed him, and he wasn't there. So I think it's unforgivable in that sense. But apparently that was not Arteta. But all I can say is, this is our last hurrah, in my opinion, for Arteta. If he does not do well this season, I think that's it. I think he's taking his chances. Slot coming in this previous year and then doing what he did and showing up Arteta is unforgivable. That was his first season. He should not have done what he did, and we were inconsistent. We were at a 92 point average for the last 2 seasons, and we went downhill. If we had just maintained that consistency, we would have won the league last year, but we didn't. So that is on Arteta, and that is on his game management, in my opinion. And us buying a striker now, Gyökeres, yeah, okay, I think that's a good idea. I think or a miss. I've seen him in the Champions League. Like your last caller mentioned, he's played against some formidable defenders and strikers and defenders. And I'd say, that's okay. Having a few good games here or there. But I've seen him in the Portuguese league, and if they're not giving him much space, he doesn't tend to do very well. And unfortunately, the Portuguese league is not a league I would use as a stats or as a field as a league where I would judge a person's football ability, in my opinion. So.
Brilliant stuff, Jesse. That's a really good point. I want to get to this just quickly, Scott. He said there, Jesse, he said, it's a last hurrah. Do you reckon that's the case? It's strong from the Arsenal fan base.
Look, yeah, I mean, more Arsenal fans have said give him more time, and they seem to be with him in that. But I understand still where Jesse's coming from. But I just think be careful what you wish for. If he goes really close again, and this is the first season that Arteta, if he does get Gyökeres in, has got a proper striker, got a proper number 9. You know, we talk about Rasmus Højlund and how the weight of the shirt as playing that number 9 role at such a big club. We haven't really had that at Arsenal. Kai Havertz isn't a striker. He's absolutely right there. He is a number 10. So I personally would have gone for Ollie Watkins. And I think he probably could have been good. You know, Alice Crook was saying from a PSL point of view, Villa would probably be looking to sell and be okay if the money was right. Proven, ready-made. But no, listen, it's his first proper season as having the striker that he wants. It sounds like if he doesn't win the Premier League, there's a lot of Arsenal fans who say he should go.
Absolutely. Keep your calls and texts coming in 03717 22 3344 810 89. Is it make or break for Arsenal? And Chelsea fans, what do you make of Noni Madueke potentially leaving for Arsenal? Keep your messages coming in. We're now going to head over to Wimbledon, where Lisa O'Sullivan's got the latest.
And Sonny Cartel is out. Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova rolling back the years to equal her best ever result at Wimbledon, powering past the British 23-year-old. The 34-year-old went out in the quarter-finals back in 2016. She's been making her 16th appearance at Wimbledon, the second oldest woman remaining in the draw, and a remarkable performance for someone having played her way back into form after being diagnosed with Lyme disease after Indian Wells earlier this year. 7-6, 6-4 her win, while over on court number 1, as we listen in, Cam Norrie is 6-3, 4 games all with Nicolas Jarry of Chile.
Sam Ellard's watching the cricket. Is it a foregone conclusion, England-India last day, Sam?
Yes, it is the last day, and it does feel a foregone conclusion that India will win this Test match. England 196 for 6. Runs at this point are irrelevant. England needing 412. So India need 4 wickets to win. The good news for England since the lunch interval, no wickets yet in the afternoon session. The last wicket to fall was Ben Stokes. That was last ball of the first session of the day. The bad news for England, though, is they've still got 46 more overs remaining. Jamie Smith has passed 50 in this innings from 73 balls. It's been a quite defensive England performance so far with the bat, and understandably so. But then out of absolutely nowhere, Jamie Smith back-to-back balls launched Washington Sundar for 2 sixes, one back over his head, one over the leg side boundary. So Smith now has 69 runs to his name. Wokes has got 6 runs. Akashdeep has bowled brilliantly in this innings. Figures of 4 for 64 into the attack. He found the edge of Wokes' bat, just be the fielder at third slip. So India hunting for these wickets. Smith and Wokes to the crease. India needing 4 wickets. England 196 for 6.
Brilliant, thanks Sam. And Jake Robson is reporting from a rain-affected British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
That is an understatement. It is still teeming it down at Silverstone. We're back behind the safety car after Isaac Hajar crashed his racing bull into the barriers at Copse. He actually couldn't see Kimi Antonelli in front of him. They did the onboard camera, absolutely ridiculous. He couldn't see the Mercedes driver. He's gone into the back of him, and then he's absolutely wrecked the car in the barriers. But the safety car is then back out to clear that up. Before that, we had the safety car going round for 4 laps just because of the conditions being so bad. It's very rare that you see the safety car come out for rain. Obviously it comes when there's a crash, but for the rain to be so bad and see the safety car, it's pretty unprecedented. Oscar Piastri though is the leader, Max Verstappen second, Lando Norris in third, safety car coming in this lap.
Brilliant stuff, Jake. Thank you. They are all going to be keeping us updated on an absolute belter of a day for live sport in the UK. Up next on the Sunday session, sounds of the weekend, Florence from the great city of Nottingham sending Ariana Grande's Bye. This is regarding all the Manchester United players. 5 players wanting to say goodbye to Old Trafford and find a move elsewhere. But next up, we'll be looking at some stranger stories here on the Sunday session.
Usually I join you on the floor, but this
Good afternoon, this is the Sunday session. These are the sounds of the weekend. You heard Olivia Rodrigo there. It's been sent in by Lily from South London. The song Traitor. Maybe she's a United fan who sees Rashford and all those like they want to get out as traitors. And then, of course, Hall & Oates. Come on, you make my dreams come true. Classic. That's Rax from Bradford. This is regarding Chris Atherton, the 16-year-old who actually made his professional debut as a 13-year-old. It's stunning, that, isn't it? And he has made his move to Chelsea, where he will rot at the academy.
You're out of order. You're a bad kid, you.
Don't get me wrong. Great move for him, but hopefully he breaks into that first team. Now, this is the Sunday session, of course. We've got an absolute belter of a show. We've got loads of live sports. We've got the Grand Prix at Silverstone. We've got Wimbledon. We've got the cricket, where unfortunately it looks like India are going to draw level. We'll be bringing you reports a little bit later on. But now it's time for a little bit of this.
Stranger Things on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
We start Stranger Things with a bit of João Pedro, who of course completed his £16 million move to Chelsea from Brighton, taking the Blues summer spending past 200 million as Enzo Maresca reshaped his squad for the Champions League.
He was brilliant, by the way, when he came on. Brilliant.
Yeah, fair play. Good. I mean, what a coup to get him in for the final stages of the Club World Cup. But the real strange thing was when Pedro asked who the best player he's ever played with is, and he stunned fans by naming none other than James Milner. That's right, the 39-year-old veteran who joined Brighton in 2023 left a lasting impression on the young Brazilian. The forward also revealed Neymar was his childhood idol and Cristiano Ronaldo as the toughest opponent he's ever faced. But nothing compared to James Milner. Fair play.
Do you know why I'm not surprised at that? I remember when I was working for Chelsea TV 15 years ago maybe, and we were going to do an interview. Well, yeah, so it would have been just after the double, Carlo Ancelotti and the great Ray Wilkins as well. Yeah. We're in the green room just chatting beforehand. I can't remember who was talk about who they wanted. And I said, who would you ideally want? And he went, James Milner. This is Carlo Ancelotti talking about it. So I think everybody who has worked with James Milner says James Milner.
And I don't think we should see him as an underdog. He is a bona fide top player.
Absolutely.
You know, at all the club level. So, you know, fair
brilliant
play,
on and off the
sense.
pitch as well.
Yeah.
Okay, now to the most unlikely of link-ups perhaps in history. Crystal Palace star Eberechi Eze has shown off his strategic flair off the pitch too. Elsewhere this summer, he sat down for a friendly chess match against none other than billionaire Richard Branson at Branson's plush Mallorca estate. I bet that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's not too. I wouldn't mind an invite there.
Oh, can you imagine? After 4 competitive games, Eze emerged victorious, and Branson celebrated the defeat by playfully splashing water over him. This isn't just a one-off, however. 2 months prior, Eze won the Chess.com PogChamp 6 celebrity tournament, taking home a $20,000 top prize. Talk about a man of many talents.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, sticking it to the rich billionaire as well.
Absolutely.
Who saw loser throwing that water over him. Bang out of order, Richard.
It's probably champagne.
Yeah, probably. That's probably why he lost as well. Right, Burnley have confirmed the signing of Kyle Walker from Manchester City in a £5 million deal, but the real talking point is how they announced it. In a surreal twist, the club released a Lionel Richie-inspired video based on the 1983 classic Hello. Walker plays along perfectly, answering the phone, sculpting a clay head, and even recreating lines saying, "I've wanted you to see it so many times, but I think it's finally done. Tell me what you think." As he wraps a Burnley scarf around the sculpture, Walker goes on, "But I'm just adding the finishing touches. Up the Clarets."
That is brilliant.
Yeah, it's class, isn't it? They've got a good reveal, good social media team there at Burnley. Footy fans couldn't quite believe the announcement, with one saying, "What on earth is going on here?" Now, the real question is, what do you think your announcement video would consist of in 2025, Scott?
No, oh my goodness.
It'd be you getting carted around on a golden golf buggy around the Belfry, wouldn't it, Scott?
Well, actually, I only took up golf a few years ago, but it probably would be golf related now. I'm just trying to get into it, but I love that bit of Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, it's good. I reckon my reveal would be sort of, because I'm so tall, slow, like panning up to reveal my face, but it takes about 5 minutes because I'm so high up, just to keep the suspense. One with the left foot, Scott.
People might turn off nowadays, mate. We won't have to wait that long. Over to our next strange story. Juventus boss Igor Tudor has revealed that 10 of his players asked to be subbed off during their Club World Cup defeat to Real Madrid in Miami. With 30-degree heat and unprecedented humidity, Tudor maxed out on his 5 allocated changes in the 1-0 loss and still had half the team pleading to come off. He said afterwards, in the end, 10 players asked to be substituted. The exhaustion was incredible. There's tension of this match, which burns your energy. Then there's the heat, which really gets to you. And the third thing that completes the conditions is playing in this humidity. Good thing the World Cup won't be played in these conditions next year.
That's shocking. That they're playing against Madrid and they want to be hoiked off.
I know. I find that a bit strange. I've got to be honest.
Get a grip. I loved hearing Thomas Muller say, he's leaving Bayern. He's retiring, and he's ancient, bless him. And he's saying, if I can do it, why can't all these other players? Asking him to be taken off against Madrid. Absolute shocker. Anyway, hopefully Thomas Tuchel's men won't be asking for that in a World Cup next year. Right, we're going to go back to our reporters. Sam Allard is watching England-India. There's been a wicket. What's happened, Sam?
It's a big wicket. India getting closer to victory. England 199 for 7. The 7th wicket to fall is Chris Wokes, and he gets himself into a little bit of a mess here. Pradesh Krishna has his first wicket of the innings. A shorter ball, and Wokes tries to work it, tries to flick the short ball into the leg side. He makes a right mess of it. It goes high in the air, and it's a really easy catch for the fielder at short mid-wicket. India getting closer. Bryden Cast has joined Jamie Smith at the crease. Smith's on 71. England 199 for 7. India need 3 further wickets for victory.
Thank you, Sam. Not going well for England in the cricket. Lisa O'Sullivan's watching at Wimbledon. How are the remaining Brits in the tournament faring, Lisa?
You hear me, you join me as Cam Norrie takes his second set to a tiebreak against Nicolas Jarry of Chile, the qualifier, who's already played 6 matches. This is match number 7. Norrie taking that first set 6-3. Sonia Kartel, though, is outbeaten 7-6, 6-4 by 34-year-old Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, and apparently the failure of the automatic electronic calling system has now been blamed on human error.
Thank you, Lisa. A mixed bag for the Brits at Wimbledon. We got George Russell, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton in action at Silverstone. Jake Robson, what's the latest?
Oh, it's looking pretty good for the Brits, to be fair. Big drama, though, we've had, because the rain has continued to pour down. And just as you came to me last time, the safety car was going in, Max Verstappen spun his car as the safety car was coming in. So he's back to 10th. He's managed to get the car back going again. He's down in 10th. Oscar Piastri, meanwhile, has been given a 10-second penalty for slamming the brakes on and catching Verstappen out at some point when the safety car was going in as well. So it really is all action. But Piastri leads. Norris is second. Lance Stroll is up to 3rd in the Alfa Romeo. You mentioned the Brits. Hamilton 6th, Russell 7th, and Alex Albon down in 11th. It is absolutely all systems go at Silverstone. As I said, the rain has continued to pour down. It's dry. It's stopped for now, and it is drying out. But so far, it's been brilliant.
Thank you, Jake. How awful to hear that Max Verstappen spun out and is now in 10th. Devastating news. Right.
You didn't laugh at all there, did you?
No, not at all.
No.
Somber moment. Right, next on the Sunday session. Simon from Newport sending in the absolute banger from Oasis. Don't look back in anger in regards to all of those players desperately trying to leave Old Trafford. Don't look back in anger at that time at the club. But next up, we're going to be getting the latest, all the latest from the British and Irish Lions Tour Down Under.
Cricket balls are red, baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impact with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point: the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour Optic Yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon.
Good afternoon, you're listening to the Sunday session on talkSPORT with me, Max Scott, and former Chelsea Benfica left-back Scott Minto. We've got tons of live sport going across the UK, and first we're into Wimbledon with Lisa O'Sullivan.
And we're listening in on court number 1, where Cameron Norrie has a number of set points in the tie-break against Nicolas Jarry. He leads 6-3 and is 6-4 up in this tie-break and looking to book his place into the quarter-finals. I'm stalling, but he will serve for the set.
Brilliant stuff, Lisa. It's going well for Cam Norrie, but not so much for England at the cricket, Sam Ellard.
Yeah, England 204 for 7. India needing 3 further wickets to win this match. They've got 42 overs to get at Edgbaston. The 1 wicket to fall after the later lunch break was Chris Wokes for 7. Shorter ball from Krishna. Wokes trying to work it leg side, goes high in the air. Picked out the fielder Siraj, the short mid wicket. Smith's got 75. Carl's just come to the crease. India need 3 wickets to win this test match.
Brilliant, Sam. Who's leading the British Grand Prix at Silverstone? Jake Robson?
It's currently Oscar Piastri. Rain at Silverstone, though. We've had plenty of it as we're on lap 31. Piastri leads from the McLaren teammate Lando Norris after Max Verstappen spun as the safety car was coming in on lap 22. An extremely uncharacteristic error from the 4-time world champion. That's seen him back down to 10th now, so his race completely wrecked. He was obviously the pole sitter, wasn't he, when the race started. He was then overtaken by both the McLarens, and under the safety car he's managed to spin his car around. He did keep it going, but he's only as far back as 10th. Lance Stroll is 3rd, Hulkenberg's up to 4th, and Lewis Hamilton is on a charge. He's now up to 5th.
At 5 p.m. there's Women's Euro action as Norway take on Finland. Angelina Kelly's reporting.
Yeah, both sides won their first fixture of the tournament. Finland were perhaps the more convincing out of the two teams, but with Norway's talent up front, including a former Ballon d'Or winner, they are not to be underestimated. The winner of this one could be the first team through to the quarter-finals if the other result in this group goes their way, so both nations will be desperate for the win. Kick-off is at 5 p.m. in Sion. It's Norway versus Finland.
Brilliant, Angelina Kelly. And over on talkSPORT 2 at half-time in Super League, it's currently Hull KR 8, leads Rhinos 0, and this is how Reece Martin's try sounded.
Minchella gets the ball to May to Martin. Martin against the grain. Martin too big, too strong, too fast. Opening points of the game go the way of the Robins. They lead 4 points to 0. Reece Martin with the try.
What a day of live sport here on the Sunday session. Let's get into it on talkSPORT. Okay, from 5 p.m, we'll be keeping you updated from the Women's Euros as Norway take on Finland with Angelina Kelly reporting for talkSPORT. She has the team news.
Both teams make one change as Norway's Melody drops to the bench for Harviken, and Finland and former Juventus forward Sani Franzi is also benched and replaced by former AC Milan forward Savenius. Norway continue with that exciting front four of Arsenal's Frida Maanum, Barcelona's Caroline Graham-Hansen, Chelsea's Guro Reiten, and despite missing a penalty in their game and that win over Switzerland, former Ballon d'Or winner Ada Hegerberg keeps her place in the 11. Finland keep their player of the match and scorer of the winning goal in that win over Iceland, Kosola. Kick-off at 5 p.m. in Group A in Sion. It's Norway against Finland.
Thank you, Angelina. Brilliant stuff. It's been wall-to-wall coverage. There's no Premier League, but wall-to-wall live sport on talkSPORT. And, of course, it goes without saying, yesterday we had the British and Irish Lions go for another win against the Waratahs. It finished 21-10. And delighted to say, joining us now is James Hook, former Lions fly half. James, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, boys. How are you keeping?
Yeah,
James, good mate.
Doing really well. I had an early start. I was on breakfast with Tony Cascarino yesterday. I was up very early, but I managed to stay awake, get home for 11 to watch that win. Now, James, if you'll know this as a former pro, if you take a cursory glance at the back pages, the rugby writers tend to be glass half empty. The Times say it was stuttering and sloppy. The Guardian says far from convincing. The Telegraph, too many dropped balls, poor cohesion, lack of fluency. Was it that bad against the Waratahs? What do you make of it?
Yeah, I think compared to the last two games, where they put 50 points on the previous two teams, I think, especially second half, I think because you expected the Lions to sort of run away with it like they did in the previous two games. But yeah, it's a difficult one. They're trying to move the ball, they're trying to play with width, but just those final passes weren't sticking. I think that the main worry for the Lions will be, how many errors they've created, particularly in the last couple of games. So I think that's something they certainly need to tidy up. And obviously, they've got another big game on Wednesday. It's getting closer and closer now to the test match. So week Saturday, the first test. So you'd expect, boys, they will probably pick as close as they can to that test match 15, perhaps on Wednesday, I would say.
You talked there about the sort of some of the issues that facing the Lions there. Not sort of spreading the ball too wide too early, not necessarily being direct enough. Ball handling issues. But to me, again, referencing back to sort of some of the quite negative press we've heard, they're quick fixes for Andy Farrell, aren't they? Easy to sort.
Yeah, you think so. You think they could always probably go back to type. They could go back to the kicking game. They could go back to the direct game using, if Bundyaki or Tuipulotu at 12, you feel they could go back to that if they want, So, you're damned if you do and damned if you don't sometimes. So the Lions are trying to play. They're trying to play entertaining rugby. And when it doesn't work, it's like, well, you need to kick the ball a little bit more. So, yeah, I'm sure Andy Farrell, he's a quality coach. He knows what he's doing. And I'm sure now the next couple of games, you'll probably start seeing a little bit more of how the Lions are going to play in that first test.
Yeah.
James, Farrell mentioned that the pitch was wet. Anything there, and can you understand the possible interpretation of dirty tactics from the Aussies at all?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. It certainly tests your skill set then, doesn't it? But I think, we're from Great Britain, boys. We know what a wet pitch is like. We know what to play on pitches like that. So, yeah, I think, they probably lacked a little bit of leadership in that second half on Saturday. I think, if the ball's a bit wet, a bit greasy, then, you're dropping a few balls, then, we need to be a bit more direct. You probably do need to kick a little bit more. And to be fair to the Lions, they haven't kicked an awful lot in the opening 4 games. So I expect when it comes to the test matches, they will have to kick a little bit more.
You mentioned there, James, around the kicking game. At 60 minutes, I must admit, we saw Owen Farrell in the stands playing the pantomime villain again, and I just thought at 60 minutes, is this not a game that was crying out for someone like Faz to come on, marshal that game?
Yeah, and there's people coming out saying, it doesn't make sense he's being called up. That baffles me really, because it makes complete sense, And he's a world-class player with a huge amount of experience, played in World Cup finals. He's won Lions Test Series on his own, and I know he hasn't played a great deal lately. And, I suppose the other criticism is Elliot Daly, obviously, who got injured. He replaced him. It's not a like-for-like replacement, but I don't think that matters. You bring in the best player, you know, that experience. You know, you look back to the 2023 World Cup, South Africa, they lost Malcolm Marx, the hooker. They brought Andre Pollard to fly half in, and they ended up winning the World Cup for them pretty much. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer if he's available. And like you say, going back to that Waratahs game, he's probably screaming out for some leadership, like Owen Farrell, to be honest, boys.
Absolutely.
You've been there, James, of course you haven't, but even if he's not 100%, Owen, how important is it to have characters like that, the experience, you touched on it there, you know, not just sort of on the pitch, but just generally around, and all the noise that it takes and you receive being a Lion?
Oh, it's huge, you know, it's priceless, you know. He's probably been the most consistent fly-half/centre, you know, in the British Isles for the last decade, really, alongside probably Johnny Sexton. So, you know, like you said, I don't expect Owen Farrell to start in that first test against Australia, but even having him on the bench, and like you say, around the midweek team and just being around camp, you know, it's gonna lift the performances of the other 10s, 12s in the squad. So, yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer, boys.
Absolutely, bona fide legend. Just quickly, James, I've got to ask, heading, you know, after that game against the Waratahs, the toughest test so far, do you think that, you know, most people predicted the Lions to win this tour eventually, but it seems to me maybe that the sides, you know, the Lions are closer to Australia than maybe we initially thought. Do you think it's going to be really tough, or do you think it'll be a whitewash for the Lions?
Oh, no, I think it will be close. It'll be tough. Yeah. Australia obviously played Fiji today and just scraped through. They scored in the last couple of minutes to beat Fiji. So they'll probably be fresher than the Lions, but they'll probably be a little bit more rusty. And like I say, it's probably time, this Wednesday, at the latest on Saturday, for Andy Farrell to put his best 15, or as close to his best 15 that he's going to select against the Aussies in the first test, and just get that continuity in the combinations together, because we probably haven't seen that in the first 4 games, boys.
Cracking stuff, James. Thank you so much for coming on, mate.
Pleasure. Have a good one, boys.
Brilliant stuff. That's former Lions fly half James Hook. Reminder that talkSPORT is the only place on national radio you can listen to the Lions coverage. I would thoroughly recommend, by the way, the Lions Uncaged podcast, which you can get everywhere you get your podcasts. Right, we're heading back over to Sam Ellard, who's got an update from the cricket.
Drinks in the afternoon session on day 5. England 211 for 7. The Indian fans at Edgbaston today having a really, really good day, because their side are 3 wickets away from their first ever win at Edgbaston. Jamie Smith, though, is showing fight. He's unbeaten on 76. He's now passed 300 runs since he was last out. Of course, first innings of the match, he finished unbeaten on 186. This time round, he's got 76 runs to his name. Bryden Castle, the other end, is 5 not out. Chris Wokes, the last wicket to fall. Very, very strange dismissal from Chris Wokes, trying to whip a short ball into the leg side. Didn't get a hold of it. If needs be, India will have 16 overs with the new ball, and we've seen how well they've used it, but I think we're not going to get to that point in the day. We've got 41 overs left in the day. New ball available if needed in 25 overs. England 211 for 7.
Cheers, Sam. That's great stuff. And Jake Robson is covering the British Grand Prix, where the heavens have been open all afternoon. Is that still the case, Jake?
It's actually stopped now, starting to dry out a bit, although there is still a couple of patches on the track that are soaked. Lap 37, Oscar Piastri leads from his teammate in McLaren, Lando Norris, in second. Piastri, though, will have a 10-second penalty when he comes in for his next pit stop for an infringement during the safety car. He slammed on his brakes, and the person who was second at the time, Max Verstappen, ended up having to go past him. So he's been given a 10-second time penalty. In the meantime, before the safety car went in, Verstappen spun his Red Bull, so he's now back in 9th. So his race is basically over. He might pick up a couple of World Championship points, but Nico Hülkenberg is up to 3rd in the Sauber, and Lewis Hamilton's 4th, Lance Stroll 5th. Stroll was 3rd for 10 laps or so, but he's now been passed by both Hülkenberg and Hamilton. Of course, that would be a big story, wouldn't it, if Hamilton could make the podium after the season that he's had so far. But the headline is that lap 38, Piastri leads, Norris 2nd, Verstappen back in 9th.
Brilliant stuff, Jake. Thank you. No Premier League, no problem. We've got you covered, all the live sport here on the Sunday session. But next up...
Goodbye, my lover. Goodbye, my friend.
Pete from Birmingham sending in James Blunt's classic Goodbye My Lover, referring to, of course, all the Manchester United players that want out of Manchester United, particularly Marcus Rashford. Right, next up we'll be looking at some other transfer news, including why Newcastle's pursuit of Anthony Elanga may well end, hopefully for me, in disappointment. to the sounds of the weekend here on the Sunday session with me, Max Scott, alongside Scott Minto. The first song from Kelly from Swansea was Beyonce's Best I Never Had, regarding all those United players that won out of Old Trafford. And then right here we've got Lupe Fiasco's Superstar regarding Chelsea's new wonder signing Chris Atherton from Glenavon in Ireland. Right, we've got loads of live sport covering it here on the Sunday session, but we're going to head straight to Sam Ellard, where we've had a wicket in the cricket.
An extraordinary 56th over in this game of cricket. Second ball, Akashdeep tries to bounce Jamie Smith. He takes on the hook shot, sixth. Third ball, another short ball. This time it's another six over deep mid wicket. Akashdeep says, do you want to do it again? Do you want 3 in a row? Another bumper. This time it's not a six. This time it's a wicket, and he picks out the fielder at deep backward square leg. So it went 6-6 wicket, and Jamie Smith's innings comes to an end on 88. And you have to say, it's hard to be too critical of a player who scored over 300 runs in the Test match, but was that really the right shot to play given the match situation, given that England are fighting for a draw? The answer to that is no. Akashdeep has 5 wickets, his maiden 5-wicket haul in Test match cricket. He deserves it. He's bowled beautifully this whole Test match. England 226 for 8. Carson Tonga at the crease. India need 2 more wickets for an incredible Test match victory.
Cracking stuff from Sam Ellard, bringing the cricket to life as India look to draw that Test series level. Right, we're now heading back to some transfer news, Scott. We've had lots of different lines over the weekend. Of course, Kyle Walker heading to City to join Burnley for £5 million. Mohamed Kudus is only interested in a move to Spurs. They've had another bid rejected for the West Ham winger. But I want to focus, of course, on the dealings between Newcastle and my beloved Nottingham Forest, because Newcastle have bid their latest offer, £55 million for our fantastic winger Anthony Elanga. The question I've got for you, Scott Minto, is does Anthony Elanga start for Newcastle with how beloved Jacob Murphy is? You know, our producer Ollie's a massive Newcastle fan, and he's been saying, I'm not sure with the way that Newcastle play whether Anthony Elanga starts when you've got Harvey Barnes, who ended the season brilliantly, Anthony Gordon on the books at England for Thomas Tuchel, Jacob Murphy pulling up trees for his club. Is it worth Anthony Elanga leaving?
Well, I mean, just on the Jacob Murphy thing, both Ollie and I were saying, and I said earlier in the season, I don't think enough people give him credit for the season he's had. He's almost not seen as a sexy enough name at Newcastle to really say, actually, he's one of Newcastle's best players at this particular moment in time. Yeah. But Newcastle have got Premier League and Champions League. And I think Eddie Howe, along with a lot of other people, have learned how difficult that is, how hard it is to combine both of them together to try and get to the knockout stages, and obviously go again in the Premier League as they finishing the Champions League places. So, look, is he guaranteed a place at Forest? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You're not going to like what I'm about to say. Champions League and Newcastle, with the money they've got, the way they want to try and I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens with the PSR rules, because obviously they've got money to burn but can't spend it. But this is a team for me that is absolutely desperate to try and get as close to the top boys, the big boys.
The only thing I'd say, Scott, you say they've got money to burn, but they can't spend it.
No,
Forest. So of course, Champions League, massive draw. You want to play in the Champions League as a pro, and Anthony Elanga's getting towards the top of his game. I totally understand that. However, in Nottingham Forest, you've got a very good chance of winning a European tournament in the Conference League.
Fair enough.
And you've got an owner with money to burn who can spend it. So I just think for Anthony Elanga, are you going to go... Look, Newcastle, brilliant club playing Champions League football, not denying that. But I'm saying you've got a choice to go and fight for a place in a Newcastle squad where you may not play, or you're a guaranteed starter at Nottingham Forest where you can win a European Cup, and more players are going to come through the door. We've just seen Igor Jesus, according to Tim Vickery, player of the tournament at the Club World Cup. He's joined up. Surely it's...
Did he say that? Did he say player of the tournament?
He did. Tim Vickery at the time, before Botafogo were out, said, as it stands, he's the player of the tournament.
Yeah. That's probably after the PSG game.
All I'm trying to say is...
Listen, you're speaking very well and passionately from the Nottingham Forest point of view, so keep on going. Go on.
Well, can you not see that there's a world where Anthony Elanga sits there and thinks, hold on a minute, I don't need to go anywhere?
Look, I think there can definitely be not to be careful what you wish for, but actually if you're happy where you are, fine. The only thing I'd say is, and I don't mean this as disrespectfully, is how ambitious are you? You talk about Forest have got money to burn and they can spend it. Well, it wasn't long ago that they were deducted points. So they'll have to be careful because the incomings do not match the outgoings in a similar level, but just on a different level to Newcastle. Now, do you want to be playing week in, week out? And listen, I've been at the City Ground a few times this season. The synergy between the fans and the players,
something else,
up
mate.
there with the very, very best, and certainly with Liverpool and other teams as well. I just wonder whether he might sort of think, did Forest hit the ceiling there? I agree, the Europa Conference League. I think any English team coming from the Premier League in that competition should go on to win that because it's third tier. At the very top in the Champions League, you got the big boys around Europe. It's, as we've just seen, this season, PSG have beaten all the best that Premier League have had to offer. Second and third tier, then we should be in there with the powerhouses and the money that's available. But Newcastle, for me, you talk about synergy and passion from the fans. They are right up there as well. And do you know what also? If you don't have faith in yourself, what's the point of being there? I wouldn't not join Newcastle because I'd be worried about not playing. I'd have faith in my ability that I'm going to go in there and boss it. And as well as Jacob Murphy or others are playing, I'm going to play even better. The only thing I would say is, how happy are you at Forest? And he's come from United where he wasn't. He's now really happy. And he might be one of those that says, do you know what? No, I'm happy where I'm gonna stick to it.
Well, look, Newcastle fans, reporters in Newcastle seem very confident that this deal will go through. Obviously, for Forest, it'd be, a great amount of money to come in. They signed him for 15 million. There is a sell-on clause to go back to United, money to go back to United. But there are also reports coming out of Nottingham that Anthony Elanga is incredibly happy at the club. And so I just don't think this deal is finished. I don't think that the confidence from some reporters and some sort of Newcastle fans is necessarily the reality.
How big a blow would it be from a Forest fan's point of view?
I think the way Nuno plays football, Anthony Elanga's pace is absolutely key. All of Forest's success since we've been in the Premier League, pace has been involved. Brennan Johnson almost single-handedly kept us in the Premier League that first season. Anthony Elanga's been instrumental for us, but I do think the quality and depth we have in that squad, with 60 million extra quid, I don't think that it would be as devastating as it would, let's say, last season. But I still have confidence that Anthony Elanga will stay. But one thing that is for sure is that Evangelos Marinakis will reinvest that money and continue to back the club. And so if he does go, I think it's exciting times regardless for the club. Right, we're taking a switch to the tennis because the latest episode of Wimbledon Unfiltered with the legend that is Nick Kyrgios is now available on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. In this edition, Nick reveals why Rafa Nadal was the king of mind games off the court.
Tennis is such a strange sport like that. You eat with your opponents. You basically, you're showering with them. They're right there. You're seeing them all the time. It's got to be the only sport in the world where you're seeing your opponent that much.
Who's the worst at it? Is there somebody who really got underneath your skin and rattled you in those circumstances that you wanted to just get a grip of them?
It was probably Rafa, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like Rafa he was a nightmare before you played him because he would get his racket and he would swing really hard in front of you and like really try and intimidate you. And it did work. It did work because, you're sitting there maybe listening to music and you just hear this guy's racket just zooming and he's jumping around. It's just like, he did make you feel a bit nervous. I actually videoed it one time. I think I've got it on my social media. I was just videoing him warming up in the background in Cincinnati, and then I destroyed him. So it was fine. But yeah, he had a lot of theatrics inside the locker room.
Nick Kyrgios spilling the beans.
He's
there.
really good, by the way. I was listening to him the other day on The Breakfast Show. Very, very good.
He's great value.
Yeah.
Now, for all your daily roundup of each day of Wimbledon, tune in to Wimbledon Unfiltered with Nick Kyrgios as the 7-time ATP winner joins Gordon Smart for a look at all the news from the day and is joined by some very special guests. Available each weeknight from 9:30 p.m. on YouTube and CTV. Speaking of the tennis, speaking of Wimbledon, Lisa O'Sullivan is watching for us.
Dialed in to court number 1 where Britain's Cam Norrie is leading Nicolas Jarry of Chile by 2-1, and it's a very composed performance from the British former number 1. It's probably heading back up that way at some point soon, although Jack Draper dominant at the top. If he does get through today, he'll become just the 4th British man in the Open era to get through to the quarterfinals at Wimbledon on multiple occasions. Sonia Kartel's journey, though, is over. She was beaten in straight sets by Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova.
Cam Norrie going great guns there in the tennis. What about all the Brits at the British Grand Prix, Jake Robson?
For lap 45, Lando Norris still leads from his teammate Oscar Piastri, with Hülkenberg in third in Sauber and Lewis Hamilton fourth. The track continues to dry now, and most of the drivers have ditched off the intermediate tyres and taken the risk to go on the slicks, and almost all of them have had some kind of incident where they've slipped off for a corner or two to rejoin the track because it's not fully dry. Piastri, one of those, literally 10 seconds ago, coming a cropper as he went through the hairpin there. Really still a bit treacherous out in a couple of parts of the track, but the rest of it's dried out. The drivers are really starting to hammer it down now on the dry parts of the track. Piastri 4.4 seconds behind the leader, Lando Norris.
Brilliant stuff. Jake Robson and Lisa O'Sullivan keeping us updated on all the live sport across the day. But up next on the Sunday session.
He walks away, the sun goes down.
Val from Gravesend sending in an Amy Winehouse classic, Tears Dry on Their Own, referring to all the Manchester United players crying that they still play for Manchester United. They're looking for a way out of that famous club. But next up, we'll be joined by former Premier League manager Alan Pardew on the show and look back on Wales' defeat at the Women's Euros yesterday.
We could have never had it all.
Good afternoon, you're listening to the Sunday Session with me, Max Scott, alongside Scott Minto. We've been covering all of the live sport. We'll be going to our reporters at Wimbledon. We'll be heading over to the British Grand Prix too. But first, a little bit of this. Get a load of this. Oasis, of course, kicked off their long-awaited gigs in Cardiff this weekend, and we're giving you a chance to win a pair of Oasis tickets in Manchester on July the 19th. Yes, you heard it right. Oasis Live 25, as you know, is sold out. But talkSPORT can get you in, and the competition ends tomorrow. But that's not all. Alongside the tickets, we'll put you up for a night in a hotel and put $5,000 in your back pocket, completely tax-free. Listen up right now for everything you need to know on how to enter.
All right, Arcade, you have to be over 18 to enter in the UK, excluding Northern Ireland, for the chance to win a pair of tickets to the most electrifying rock and roll reunion of the century, a hotel stay and $5,000 spending money. Text the word Oasis to 83338 by Monday the 7th of July at 11 p.m. and you'll be entered into the draw to go supersonic this summer. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission or post your name and number to Oasis Prize Draw, PO Box 3190, Colchester CO2 8GP, to arrive by 5 p.m. on the 10th of July. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. Good luck, yeah? Sorted.
As ever on talkSPORT, the live sport continues from 5 p.m. We'll be keeping you updated from the Women's Euros as Norway take on Finland, with Angelina Kelly reporting for talkSPORT.
Yeah, it's Norway versus Finland in Group A. Historically, Norway have had the upper hand over Finland, winning 9 of their 14 meetings. But in their last meeting in the Euro qualifier last summer, things ended in a very gruelling draw. Up front, Norway have some excellent quality, with Ada Hegerberg, the first ever recipient of the Ballon d'Or, Carolina Graham-Hansen, who has won the quadruple with Barcelona, recent Champions League winner Arsenal's Frida Maman, and key player in Chelsea's Invincibles Women's Super League season, Guro Reiten. This is without even mentioning Manchester United's top scorer from last season, Elizabeth Turland, who is on the bench. There's no surprise that Finland have decided to keep Katarina Kosula in the starting 11 after she put in a player of the match performance against Iceland. 36-year-old captain Linda Sahlström will be desperate to add to her tally of 64 goals for her nation. And thankfully for me and my eyesight, West Ham's midfielder Una Siren starts, and her identical twin sister Emmy is on the bench. Kick-off is at 5 p.m. in Group A in Sion. It's Norway versus Finland.
Great stuff from Angelina Kelly, keeping us across Norway, Finland. But delighted to say now we are joined by none other than Alan Pardew, who's
just been watching the F1, haven't you?
Yeah, Norris has almost got it home. Yeah. I think there's 3 or 4 laps to go.
Yeah. You're on next for us alongside Ollie Klink. I'm sure you're aware that he is a massive Newcastle fan. Have you been getting sort of fangirl vibes from Klink here?
A little bit, yeah. I think it might be a bit of a loving. So hopefully we'll get some sort of happy medium.
Yeah, he's going to be. He's
a mad Newcastle fan, isn't he?
He is.
Yeah.
Oh, is
How many autographs have you signed already?
No, I haven't signed anything yet.
Okay.
No, I refuse to sign.
You'll wait to the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's going to be cuddling right up to you. Mike's next door, I'm sure. What have you got for us on the final word this afternoon?
Well, obviously we're going over a lot of the transfer speculation that's going on. I'm going to give some insight into how that kind of works with a manager and technical director and owner, etc. So we'll cover that a little bit. The World Club Championship is brewing nicely.
Indeed.
Getting towards the end of that. I thought that was interesting this week, the Chelsea fine. And then the what looks like the estimated figure of about 65 million they're going to get for this. So
absolutely.
That kind of
pays for that.
Sorts that out. So that's nice. But, you know, there is an added bonus when you're in those kind of tournaments, and they'll be gaining from that, the clubs that have been in it, because you get to see teams and players that you wouldn't normally see. And although there's always those young sort of sexy superstars that, you know, the 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds, it's those 26-year-old sort of centre-backs that you never really heard of that kind of catch your eye.
Well, funnily enough,
or your centre forwards from Botafogo.
Well, I mean, Forest are exploiting that South American market. You talk about centre backs, Jair Cunha, that big 6'7" centre back for Botafogo, who looks incredibly sort of gifted with the ball at his feet, proper Brazilian centre back. Looks like that's going to get over the line for Forest as well. So yeah, the Club World Cup's been, be interesting to see how many European teams try and sort of poach that market, won't it?
That's exactly. So it's been a great showcase for particularly South American teams who want that European finance. It boosts their clubs to no end. So that trade is always a trade that's easier than trying to take, say, a Brazilian from another European club where they're, straight away you double the price.
Speaking of transfers, I mean, the big news today is regarding Victor Gyökeres to Arsenal. I've been fascinated by lots of fans almost turning their nose up at him because he's only scored 100 goals in 2 seasons in Portugal. I mean, that seems baffling to me. As a manager, surely you think if you're banging the goals in, you want them regardless of where they're playing?
Well, that natural goal scoring is always something that's unique, and Scott will tell you that, when you in training, when you see a natural goal scorer, they can get like 6 goals in a 5-a-side in 2 minutes. Yeah. It's just a natural gift that they have. Yeah. I mean, I'm just astonished that he actually ended up at Sporting Lisbon. Here he was at Coventry ripping it up. I mean, I thought he was terrific. Certainly, if I'd have been at a Premier League club, I'd have taken him for sure. So I think he slipped the net once. He isn't going to slip it again.
I mentioned several times like playing against like a Michael Owen who doesn't
of course, it was your man to the Championship. You knew it inside out.
Yeah, absolutely. But even like Arsenal drew far too many games, and you know what it's like from the manager's point of view. Where you're thinking a bit under the cosh here, but we really need a win. And suddenly that striker, half a chance, not even half a chance, and suddenly you go home on the bus. With 3 points, makes such a difference.
And you pass each other about. So we didn't play well today. It was rubbish, really. He got us out of jail, didn't he?
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a regular conversation on the bus when you've got a natural striker.
Just a final one, quick one. In terms of a manager as well, how do you sort of get that balance between speaking to the director of football? Look, we want a player in now, and they're saying, well, look, they want too much money right now. We've got to keep on negotiating.
Yeah, well, that's something that I've covered before in terms of how difficult that is, because you want the player in to work with as soon as possible, particularly pre-season, and sometimes they can come in that last week, and usually it is the last week, particularly with strikers, because the other clubs, the selling club obviously wants to have another club involved. I remember selling strikers in the past, and you're kind of telling everybody that they're available because you want another club to get involved, because I was going to push the price up.
Brilliant stuff. Alan Pardew is going to be on the final word with his number one fan, Ollie Klink. Can't wait for that. I'm tuning in
the F1's finished,
on my way home. Well, the F1 has finished and Jake Robson's got it all.
Yes, and Lando Norris has won the 76th British Grand Prix ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri in an action-packed race at Silverstone to claim his second victory in 2 races after winning last time out in Austria. His first victory at his home race as well, and coming home in third, Nico Hülkenberg, his first ever podium in 239 race starts. What an achievement for him as well. It was a crazy race. It rained, it stopped raining, it rained again. We had safety cars, we had virtual safety cars, we had various different drivers ending up in the wall. The visibility at times was absolutely shocking. But they made it home safely in the end. Lando Norris certainly did. I have to say, Max Verstappen, bit of damage limitation for him as well, coming home in 5th. He spun off as the safety car was coming in, dropped himself back to 10th, but he's managed to put in a really valiant display in the last 15 laps or so to claw his way back up to 5th. So he will come away from this weekend with something, although he did lead them off in pole position earlier, so certainly not as much as he was hoping. But as the race panned out, definitely damage limitation for Verstappen. But the headline is that Norris has won 2 race wins in a row for Lando Norris and a first victory at Silverstone.
Brilliant stuff. Jake Robson covering a dramatic Grand Prix at Silverstone. Great guns for Lando Norris. Right, we're going to get back to the Women's Euros and review what was a disappointing but famous first game in the Euros for Wales. They lost 3-0 to the Netherlands. Delighted to welcome in now Abigail Davis, talkSPORT's Wales correspondent. How are you going, Abby?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you guys?
Yes,
yeah,
doing
really good,
well. Now, look, it was a big defeat for Wales, but equally such a sort of historic moment for them as a nation, as a women's team. I mean, what did you make of the occasion and sort of what went wrong on the pitch?
Yeah, I think that's been reflected with the mood in camp this morning. Very much mixed emotions. A combination, of course, of immense pride and gratitude, having realised that lifelong dream in front of almost 4,000 members of the Red Wall, making history on one of the biggest stages in women's football. But also, there is, of course, that disappointment, particularly with the manner of that defeat against the Netherlands. The first 2 goals in particular really could and should have been defended so much better after working their way into that first half so impressively, dealing with the overloads and the 1v1 situations better and better as the game went on. They just started sitting deeper as half-time approached and ultimately paid the price, gave Viv Miedema far too much time and space to do what Viv Miedema does best, It was a sumptuous strike to become just the 22nd player in history to make it 100 international goals. It could have been prevented had she been closed down, and then caught all at sea defensively, cut through so easily just after the restart, after such a monumental defensive showing for much of the opening 45. Look, I thought that the Netherlands were superb, particularly down that right-hand side, their movement, their pace. It was catching us out time and time again, and had a number of those long balls over the top been latched onto, then it could have been even heavier. The woodwork helped us out numerous times as well, of course, but look, we all knew nerves would play a part.
Yeah.
Wilkinson mentioned it beforehand, and she said that it was about dealing with the busy brains, was the term that she gave it. I quite liked that. But given the magnitude of the occasion, for large spells, I thought Cymru showed that they are capable of competing, but the reality of players playing on this big stage is that you just can't take your foot off the gas. And the players I spoke to last night and this morning have all said that they have learned so much about that. And, you know, there are positives to take, of course there are, but there are plenty of things that are going to need to be worked on before Wednesday. I'd say that ball retention, decision-making, not rush into release and look to play passes that simply aren't on. I imagine they're all high up on that to-do list ahead of Wednesday.
Yeah, Abby, I was talking about, you know, even in any defeat, you can try and learn lessons, and I'm sure they did that. But when you think about, you've made history by the first time ever been to a major tournament, the lowest ranked team in a tournament. Some bookies had you guys as 400 to 1 to actually win it, which obviously is not going to happen. But it is a great experience, and yet the next experience is France. Before we come on to them, I just want to mention a couple of players as well. Jess Fishlock. I mean, obviously legends in the Welsh women's side, a leading scorer, leading appearance maker, 38 years of age. How hard was that for her, you know, in those first 60 minutes when she was on the pitch? And when could we see Sophie Ingle as well, who obviously had a terrible injury this season, but you want her on the pitch as quickly as possible?
Yeah, they're two of the players that most eyes have been on, haven't they, in the build-up to this tournament, certainly from a Welsh perspective. With Jess Fishlock, look, I just think she was cancelled out of the game. I think playing her up top, we just kind of isolated her. We didn't get to see the best of her. She likes to run things from a bit deeper. We weren't able to see the best of her. And I think that Wales actually looked their best when they changed the formation slightly, made a triple substitution at the hour mark, and we looked a lot better from that point on. But the game had already gone then. It was already away from us. But yeah, for Jess Fishlock, again, it was mixed emotions for her, because she is someone who has personally sacrificed so much to get Wales to the position they're in now. She's had to face those setbacks. She's had people telling her no. She's part of that team where, you know, we were withdrawn from Euro 2005 qualifiers. She has been there. She has seen it all. She has been through the difficult times. And she said that she can sleep easy now that she has finally made this happen for Wales. So it was such a pivotal moment for her to be part of as well. But Sophie Ingle as well, Rhian Wilkinson keeping her cards close to her chest on that one. We've spoken to both the manager and Sophie Ingle herself about her chances, what role she could play. Of course, she's not played a competitive match for so long. We know that she can be that Rolls Royce in midfield. She is absolute mustard when she's fit and available. One of the best players I have ever seen live. But the problem is you don't want to rush her back, of course, without those minutes under her belt. When you're coming up against France, who we saw it yesterday against England, when they had those little pockets of space to exploit, boy, did they exploit them. So we can't really run that risk of maybe starting Sophie Ingle. I think regardless of the situation, she will get game time. And I think that's testament to the role that she's played over the years. But I think a place in the starting 11, that's probably just come too soon for her.
Abby Davis, thank you so much. talkSPORT's Wales correspondent, bringing to life Wales' journey in their first ever Euros. But we've got to head over to Sam Ella, because there's been another wicket in the cricket.
England 246 for 9. Josh Tong is out for 2. Jadeja, the bowler, it's a full delivery. Tong tried to work it into the leg side, but a short mid-wicket. Mohammad Siraj with an outstanding one-handed diving catch to his right-hand side. India 1 wicket away from victory.
Brilliant stuff, Sam. It's almost over in the cricket. It's almost over on the Sunday session with me, Max Scott, and Scott Minto. But next is everyone's favourite feature, Stataface. These are the sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session with me, Max Scott, alongside Scott Minto. You've got Adele's When We Were Young. Manny from York sends this through. This is regarding the Chelsea wonder kid. 16-year-old Chris Atherton signed from Glenavon. He, of course, made his first senior appearance when he was 13 years old, but he's on his way to Chelsea. And then first up was Michael Jackson, Leave Me Alone. This is about all of those Man United players that want rid. They want to be left alone by Ruben Amorim and his ruthless tactics and go and play elsewhere. You're listening to the Sunday session. We've been covering lots of live sport for you. You've just heard Lando Norris won that Grand Prix. There's not one wicket left in the cricket. But we've got to talk about this because former England and Arsenal striker Leanne Sanderson, talkSPORT's very own Leanne Sanderson, is the focus of tonight's edition of After the Lights Go Out here on talkSPORT from 8 p.m. Make sure you check that out. But for now, for the last time on today's show, let's head to Wimbledon, where Lisa O'Sullivan is reporting for talkSPORT.
I'd love to tell you that Cameron Norrie is into the quarterfinals for the second time in his career, his 8th Wimbledon, but he's nearly there. He leads 6-3, 7-6, 6-5 against Nicolas Jarry, but Jarry will be serving in the next game, looking to take this to a tiebreak. It's been tricky for the Brit, but Cam Norrie's been looking in good form over on court number 1.
Great stuff from Lisa O'Sullivan live at Wimbledon as always, but now it's time for a bit of this.
I'm a scat man. He's 19 years of age. He only made his little debut 12 years ago.
No manager has ever started their Premier League career with as many pints as you have.
Ashley Young has been replaced as well by Sean Dyche. Oh, God, he's got it right in the peanuts. Sam Matterface. I'm a scat man.
Yeah, we love that. Starter face. Right, let's get going on it. Fluminense's Brazilian goalkeeper Fabio Devison Lopes Maciel. Have I pronounced that?
Well done. Very
yes, as he's already had some career, hasn't he? And he shows no signs of slowing down. The 44-year-old starred in Monday's 2-0 win over Inter Milan to help the Brazilian side into the Club World Cup quarter-final against Al Hilal. Yes, 44 years old. Now, just 4 days before that, he made history with a record-breaking 507th clean sheet, overtaking former Italy international, the legend Gianluigi Buffon. Now, he will have his eyes set on an even more impressive record, the most appearances in world football. According to the Guinness Book of Records, the former England goalkeeper Peter Shilton,
is that right?
Forest legend, is current record holder with 1,390 appearances. Devison has now made 1,378 after making his debut in '97, and now, yeah, of course he is the oldest player at the Club World Cup. How about that, Scott?
God, that makes me feel old. Make his debut in '97. I won the Cup with Chelsea in '97. Moving swiftly on. Over to Wimbledon now, and the number 5 seed Taylor Fritz's clash with the world's number 36 Giovanni Impecci Pericard on Monday evening provided an incredible stat. The Frenchman, Moete, opened service at number 1 court with a bang. With his opening offering, the 21-year-old shattered the Wimbledon record for the quickest serve ever. 149 miles per hour was the serve, and that is the fastest in SW19 history, and I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce his name right.
Yeah, they're putting some dodgy names in here for us, aren't they? Right, let's hope there's none on this one. England fans, time to look away. After their 2-1 defeat to France last night, the Lionesses are the first ever team to lose their first match at UEFA Women's Euros tournament as the reigning champions. Records are there to be broken, I guess.
It's a stat, I've seen it, it's a poor stat, but it is a stat, fair enough. Yeah, absolutely, can still win, as we said before. Okay, a disappointing stat for England, but for Germany, quite the opposite. Germany have never lost their opening match at any of their previous 11 UEFA Women's Euro tournaments. They've won 6 and drawn 5 and have kept a clean sheet in each of the last 5 openers, winning 3 of those. But we know it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Absolutely. Lee Carsley's boys proved that, I'm sure.
100%.
Come on, Serena and the girls, get it sorted. I reckon a quick bit of change at the back. You know, get Chloe Kelly starting, but it's massive against the Netherlands, isn't
Everyone's getting fitter. Lauren James is getting fitter.
Yeah, she really good last night, actually.
Absolutely. Got the ability, 100%. So now it's about mentality.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be interesting to see whether she does make changes. It's not normally what she does. But will she make changes? Will she bring on players when things aren't going well? If things aren't going well, a little bit quicker. Yeah, fascinated to see.
Absolutely. Now, before we finish up here on the Sunday session, we're going to go to Sam Ellard, who's following the cricket. What's the latest, Sam, mate?
1 wicket India need for victory, and they've got 30 overs to get there. An incredible performance by India. They've dominated this Test match right from the minute that Ben Stokes said we'll have a bowl first on the morning on day 1. Shoaib Bashir, he's faced 2 balls, he's hit a 4 and he's hit a 6. But Ravi Jadeja is coming in to Shoaib Bashir, and India have wrapped up the victory. Shoaib Bashir goes for a sweep shot. It comes off the bat, it goes high in the air, and it is caught. Is Shoaib Bashir going to review this? He's coming down the wicket, and I think we'll have to wait and see whether this is given out or not. He tried to sweep. He tried to sweep the spin bowler. It went high in the air. It was caught close into the bat, and this is going to go upstairs. Shoaib Bashir thinks this might have come off pad. It was an instant review from the batter, and when the batter instantly reviews this, normally, not always, but normally it means that it is pad, not bat. Having a look at a replay here, yeah, I think this has come off the pad, and I don't think that's going to be out LBW. I think that's going to be missing.